You're listening to the Tumbling Saber Podcast, a member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Check us out on the web at starwarscommonwealth.com, on iTunes, Facebook, and Twitter, and take your first step into a larger world. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's episode 103 of the Tumbling Saber Podcast. My name is Kyle.
My name's Corey.
And I'm James.
Yeah! Welcome back, buddy.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey,
So,
James.
what, the podcasting bug bit you this week?
The podcasting bug bit me hard this week. That's a good way to put it, Kyle.
Yeah, we'll get there. So I heard from you earlier in the week in the form of a voice clip, which will now get rolled over into episode 104. But then, was it Saturday or Friday? You're like, dude, yeah, it was Friday. I was at work. Yeah, you want a third voice for the show? Yeah, of course, of course we'll have you on the show. There's always a spot here with a little tag at your chair. This is the James seat, but I wasn't sure you'd want to delve into all the material that we're getting at this week. So anyway, you're in. Glad to have you.
Yep, thanks, man. I hummed and hawed. I got to be honest. The show notes were extra stacked this week, and it's not because I don't like reading show notes, but they were extra stacked with Bresnikan articles and inside scoops, and I was worried that it would be too spoilery. But just a warning to everybody who's listening: it's not that spoilery.
Yeah. Well, I know Bradley is already right now thinking about how far ahead am I going to skip. And that kind of slices right down to the whole spoiler argument, right?
Yep.
But you know what? Maybe we can talk about that a bit before we actually get into the news. But Corey, what's going on, buddy?
Not much. Nice weekend. Caught up with some old friends. Had some dinner with them. Took some family Christmas photos today. That's always kind of a bit of a blast. Had some fun doing that. Yeah, man. It is fun, you know. I'd be smiling and laughing and whatever. And I think I have to.
I think you just titled the episode. Episode 103. Whatever.
It's true. It's like, what's so special about 103? Like 101
Hey,
was
every
cool.
episode is special. What are you talking about?
I hear you. This is special. I have to address something with my special friend James. I formally apologize for. No, I formally hereby apologize for calling you Jim on the last show. I know you don't like that. It triggered you. I get it.
Hey, thanks, Corey, for clearing that up. I do appreciate it.
I'm kind of wondering, is there something about that, though? Is that someone back in the day, like, do something? Or is it just like, no, I am James?
It's funny. I actually don't really care, but I was thinking that recently. If you would have made a bigger deal of it and I had to drag the formal apology out of you over a longer period of time, as soon as you would have apologized, I was going to say, by the way, no big deal. Just call me Jim, because it actually doesn't really bother me that much. But I thought it was funny.
I kind of prefer Jimmy. Is that cool?
You know, I'm actually named after a Jim. Like my great grandfather James went by Jim. That was his name. And in order to just distinguish us, I didn't go by that. But I'm certainly not offended by it. Whatever. It's just not a name that I went by. Like when I was young, I went by Jamie. Like growing up until I was 11 or 12. Anybody who knows me from elementary school still calls me Jamie.
Really?
But, anybody after, yeah. And my brother too. My brothers often will call me Jamie. My mom.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Little history there. All right. So where should we start this week? We're not going to the news yet. We still have our collecting update to get to. I you know what? I'll mention this. So everybody knows we have our Patreon campaign going, but what you may not know is in our next episode of Sith Disturbers, we're going to be dropping our super terrific Sith Disturbery Tumbling Saber The Last Jedi quiz. 40 questions, yes or no's, multiple choices. And the winner, whoever nails the best grade out of 40, is going to get a super terrific prize out of the whole thing. So if you want to take part in that, you got to become a powerful friend, and that's over at patreon.com/tumblingsaber. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun putting that quiz together with Corey and Carlos, of course. It was actually Carlos's idea. So props to him. All right, now we can do our collecting update, Corey. Anything this week?
Oh, a little bit. I've actually been on the hunt 2 or 3 times. Went to some local Walmarts and Toys R Us. God, there's a lot of stuff out there, but there's nothing like the new Wave 2, the Black Series. There's really not that much. There was like the Poe and the Finn. That's really all I've seen. Nothing. There's really nothing. It's kind of disappointing. So anyway, in that case, I had to go online and look at some stuff. But I made my way over to. It's funny. I actually made my way over there last week to Michael Pasquale's shop, 800-pound prods. Love his stuff. I've got some stuff in the past, and I was like, yeah, I got to pick this up before Christmas. Like picked up a thing or two. Then I went back the following week just to double check, and I looked, the whole site's 50% off. I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, you're kidding me. Yeah. So I was like, anyway, bang, 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 picked up some more stuff. Actually, we'll talk about that later on, but yeah, I picked up a whole bunch of stuff there. It was pretty awesome. We'll talk about it later, I guess.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I picked up. I was out. I was trying to economize trips. In this age of high gas prices, high petrol prices over in the UK. I'm trying to plan my days around getting all these things done in one trip. So I head out to a town not too far from here, and I grab myself a box set, Lord of the Rings box set.
Oh, I know this story. I'm a little jealous, honestly.
Well, really? I mean, you have a pretty impressive collection. I didn't really think the box that I have. I thought, as far as Lord of the Rings books goes, this one's pretty plain Jane, isn't it?
It's not that. Well, first of all, it's turns out it's a UK version that I can't get here anyway, or is more difficult to get here. I'd have to have one of our friends ship it over. But beyond that, I love all versions, and what I'm jealous of is the fact that it was in my backyard, much closer to me, the town that you drove to,
yes,
than it is to you, and just the fact that it was someone was trying to sell that, and my spidey sense didn't pick up on it annoys me a little. That's all.
Hey, well, I'm happy to swap with you for if you have a plain Jane set. I just want the words.
I am very happy for you to have picked that up, and we'll talk. But I think you should keep that somewhere within reach because, definitely worth reading those books more than once.
Absolutely, and more on that in just a minute. But I also, our buddy, powerful friend, Space Ninja, hooked me up with his PS4. He told me long ago. He's like, yeah, dude, I'll lend you my PS4. I don't play it. He's a Nintendo guy, and I guess I'd forgotten about it because he listened to episode 102, and a couple days later after we dropped it, I get a text. He goes, dude, I told you I will lend you my PS4. Don't go buying one just to play Battlefront 2. Right, got it. So that was just down the street from where I picked up the Lord of the Rings books. So I did both things at once. Then went out and bought Battlefront 2. Haven't hooked that up yet, but I will get to that. But at the same time, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna check. It being Black Friday, and I'll stop in at Walmart. I'll stop at Toys R Us and see what they've got. And Walmart really didn't turn up anything except for the aforementioned Battlefront 2. But Toys R Us, for some reason, still carry a lot of Rogue One 3 3/4 figures, and they were being liquidated at $297.
Oh boy!
So I was like, what the hell? $297. Can you really go wrong? Or was it $397?
Can you not get 5 of them?
No, I got Chirrut and I got Cassian, so just the 2. But I also picked up the 4-pack of Edrio 2-Tube, Saw Gerrera, Jin, and I think it's a hover tank driver, something like that. That was like $13, so I couldn't turn that down. I remember that was once retailing for like $34.99. I was like, maybe it's a pretty cool little set. Maybe I'll do it, and I just waited, and here it is for $14. But
awesome.
And if you follow me on Instagram, I don't think either of you guys are on Instagram, are you?
Negative.
Nope.
All right, so I posted a picture this morning of what I picked up, and I know a few people listening, Ads and Steve, and a few other guys have seen what I posted. So I picked up the Black Series TIE Fighter. This thing is absolutely enormous. I'll pop the image into our Facebook chat after, but holy smoke. So if you're curious, everybody out there, Just head over to my Tumbling Saber Instagram feed and look at the image I posted. It is massive, absolutely massive, to the point where I could fit both kids in the packaging. And when the kid is holding, my 3-year-old is holding up the TIE Fighter, he is completely overwhelmed by it. This thing is gigantic. I already regret buying this thing.
How much was it?
Well, and that's the kicker, man. This thing was originally, when it first dropped on the market, like $199 or something. I was like, yeah, nope. It's really cool and all, but hell no, not at that price. I picked it up for $40. Like that's I think that's less.
They were giving it to you.
Yeah, it's sweet.
And it comes with a figure as well. So if you want to look at it that way, like if you want to think of it as $29 for a Black Series figure, which is the going rate around here, I paid $10 for the TIE Fighter.
Well done, sir.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Which is nuts, man. But I already kind of regret buying this thing. It is way too big. It's an absolute obstacle in the house already.
That thing's gonna be broken in no time.
Probably, yeah. It's so big that the wings are a little bit flimsy. So, yeah.
Don't tell Corey that. He was hoping to use pieces for his boat.
I need the hyperdrive.
Anyway, that's it for the collecting update. A rather large update for me this week, and a regrettable one. Should have seen the looks on their faces though when they were waiting for me to come home, and I hauled the box out of my trunk, and they were like, "Oh my god!" Like they'd never seen a cardboard box that size. All right, well, James, it's not as often anymore that you join us, but you do have some pretty damn cool news to share.
I'm glad you think it's cool. I also think it's cool news. And yeah, I guess now's as good a time as any. I'm going to be doing a Lord of the Rings podcast. More specifically, actually, I should call it a Tolkien or maybe Middle Earth or Arda podcast, because as I'm sure some people have heard, this podcast I know is not our exact target market, although I'm sure there's a bunch of overlap.
Oh yeah,
with Star Wars fans. But I'm sure even Star Wars fans probably heard recently that there was some news with Christopher Tolkien retiring, and Amazon announcing a new series coming. They won a bidding war against Netflix. All of that was big news, and that sort of inspired. Well, actually, it was you, Kyle. You sent me a message that said this is your Lucas sold to Disney moment. You got to start a podcast, and sort of jokingly. And I thought, I don't know, that sort of that like landed and sat with me for like 48 hours. I was like, I got to start a podcast. And well, we're recording the first one in a week, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Now, you have a partner in crime?
I do, and he's known to the Commonwealth, and I'm not at liberty to say who it is, but I'll say that he adds quite a bit to the podcast.
Is it Ms. Gray? I loved her.
Oh, geez, Ms. Gray will probably be making an appearance at some point. You're right. I hadn't thought of that.
Well, I mean, she knew Gandalf when they were young, so she has some specific and intimate insight there.
Oh, geez, don't give him too many ideas.
We'll talk, Ads.
But yeah, Ads and I are gonna kick it around, and we sort of have an idea for a format. We've got an idea of how we're gonna introduce ourselves on the first show. We'll sort of talk about why we love that world and escaping to it, Middle Earth and all that stuff, hobbits and elves. But then we're gonna take a look at the Silmarillion, which is a book that not a lot of movie fans certainly know necessarily, and even people who've read Lord of the Rings don't all know that story. And so we're gonna walk people through that, not as experts but as fans, and that'll take like a year anyway. It's a huge book with lots of chapters, and it'll give us lots to talk about, sort of chapter by chapter.
That's amazing, man. I'm sorry. Up front, as a podcast producer, I will say I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry for what I just put you through.
Yeah, I don't know if thank you or damn you is what I should be saying, but yeah. So before we move on, I thought I'd tease the Star Wars universe. Here's 3 things you don't know about Middle Earth if you watched the movies and read the books.
I knew.
You don't know. Did you know all three?
Yep.
Corey?
Well, one of them you told me though.
Good for you. Good for you. The first one is that Arwen and Aragorn are actually first cousins. So Luke and Leia move over.
Like, isn't that gross? Isn't it a little bit weird?
60-something times removed. See, because she's like a few thousand years old, right? And he's had like lots and lots of parentage. So even though there's relation, there's like lots of removed blood.
All right. Okay.
The other thing you probably don't know is that Sauron, the big baddie from the movies and the Lord of the Rings books, is really only like a lieutenant to the original OG bad guy, who's the main sort of character and antagonist in the Silmarillion. So you got that to look forward to.
I did not know that at all. I thought Sauron was the top of the food chain.
No, and even when it comes to like power levels, he's not even like, he's like a demigod compared to like the OG guy.
Aren't the rings kind of forged from like his crown or something like that?
Nope.
No, eh?
No, you're mixing up two stories, but that'll be something we talk about, Corey.
Awesome.
The third thing is, and this is sort of cool, a good reason to listen in is the Silmarillion itself is much grander in scale than Lord of the Rings is. Takes place over like thousands of years, and was actually written because Tolkien, as a big fan of mythology, was sort of pissed that Great Britain didn't have its own like mythology, the moon, the stars, the explanation for the tides, you know, the Zeus, it didn't have that, and so he spent a lot of his life creating it, and that's a lot of what the Silmarillion is.
Well, it worked out for him, or at least his estate.
He's doing okay. He lived a comfortable life, I would say, very Baggins-esque, and yeah, his estate is worth hundreds of millions, so he's doing okay. And there's something on the horizon. We don't know what it is exactly, but there's something coming to TV that'll be, you know, Games of Thrones-esque is what everybody thinks, and I'm pretty pumped about that. I'm going to be clear though, the Silmarillion rights have not been sold. Like, that's not what's happening yet. I think it could, but that's not what's on the horizon for Amazon yet.
Yet, that is the operative term.
Yeah, man.
Well, dude, I'm excited.
Stuff.
I will definitely be listening to that podcast. No doubt.
Yeah, it sounds all right.
Sure. Thanks, Corey. Yeah.
No,
we'll have you on as a guest sometime.
I'm totally stoked for you guys, man. Honestly, like, it sounds like a lot of fun. I'm very curious. Like, I haven't gotten into the Silmarillion yet, and I think I'm probably going to listen to you guys talk about it before even ever attempting it.
Yeah, read it with us, man. Go chapter by chapter, a chapter a week, or we're only going to do it every 2 weeks, I think, too. We're going to go slow, man. So it'll be an easy read along if you feel like it.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way, because, I mean, I think I'm not alone in that when that news dropped about Amazon picking up all those rights to whatever it is they bought, it kind of got me thinking a little bit, saying, you know, reading Star Wars, you know, I do Journals of the Willing with Steve, and we've been doing a lot more comics lately than the novels, and it's because like the novels haven't really done all that much for me on the whole. Like here, like Bloodline was great, Lost Stars was great, same author, so no wonder. But a lot of them have just kind of left me like, meh, okay. Like I was never really wrapped up in the story like you should be. And
I know what you mean.
And it's never been really a very fulfilling reading experience. So, you know, I thought about, what am I going to do about this? And I thought, well, geez, hello, the answer hits you in the face, Tolkien. So I've been rebuying a bunch of Tolkien books that I once had. James, I donated a couple to your collection. I rebought like these cheap paperback versions, and yeah, I'll be diving back into that world for the satisfactory reading experience that I'm looking for. And I guess at this point, I should mention Keego's book with Mark and Paul, Hindsight, which for me is on Kindle, but I have that now. I'll be starting that reading very shortly. But yeah, for fulfilling reading experiences, Tolkien and Hindsight, that's what I'll be checking out. So anybody who's not at least picked up their copy of Hindsight yet on digital, it's like $3, man. So
and I think it's only fair to mention those two authors in the same breath, to be honest with you. Matt Keegan, J.R.R. Tolkien. In my mind, if you're going to buy 2 books this holiday season, Those are the two you should be looking at.
Of course.
Agreed.
I am super pumped. I'm super pumped. And on that note, I'll use this opportunity to call out Matt and Dave. I hit them up for contributions already, and I'm going to try to sneak them into the podcast as often as possible.
That's good. Good news, man.
Questions from the boys, whatever. Anyways, that's the news. So thanks for letting me sort of talk about it a little bit. I have to give a quick shout out thanks to my wife too, because I was a little nervous to tell her that I wanted to do that because it takes up a lot of time.
Well, yeah. But, I mean, you turned me on to, especially with a very dense, breaking down a dense world. Even if you're doing it as fans, like Middle Earth, like that. It's probably, I don't know, like what your show notes are going to look like, or how much advanced reading or note taking research you might have to do. Like you might find yourself going down a rabbit hole, and that'll be the push and pull of producing the show. But yeah, man, I am definitely excited for you guys.
Thank you. Yep, we're pumped.
Name for the podcast?
Looks like we're going to call it an unexpected podcast.
Very nice.
Yeah, I don't know. It's got a simple enough ring to it. And we've already done the reading and broken down and talked about like the first chapter, and it's a deep rabbit hole you're talking about. It really is. It's 9 pages long. The first chapter. It's tiny, and like we're gonna have a hard time cramming it into 60 minutes, and that's the goal.
It's good to have goals, man. Well, anyway, I'm glad all this is happening. It's this big virtuous circle we got going here. I love it. But James, you turned me on to this other podcast, There and Back Again. Is that what it is? With Alistair Stevens?
He is fabulous, isn't he?
He is. You know what my problem is? Is that he like I listen to it at work, and when I'm listening to podcasts at work, it's one step above background noise. Like I'm trying to pay attention, but I'm also working. But you have to listen to him, and if you're not listening, you're missing the whole point. So I find myself taking like 2.5 hours to listen to an hour and 20-minute podcast because I realize that I haven't paid attention for like the last 4 minutes. So I got to back it up and listen again. So
I'm just glad that you like it as what I'll call I don't want to say new Tolkien fan, but like, you're not as hardcore as some. And so I wasn't sure if that was too deep a cut, but I think he's just amazingly entertaining and pretty accessible to everyone.
Yes. Good.
Yes. Good.
All right, let's reel this back into the galaxy far, far away. We'll jump into the news, and I'll throw out once we get to the Bresnabom stuff. I'll just say flat out, big spoiler warning throughout. So is that where we should start? Actually, you know what? Before we really get there, let's talk about this new Last Jedi TV spot. So it's number 10, I think. I'm starting to lose count, but it was pretty intense. I mean, that dropped at the beginning of last week, so it's over a week. It's about a week old now. But it seems like it's Rey sensing the dark and its pull on her, similar the opposite of Kylo feeling the light and his pull on him. But at that moment where Luke has to shout at her to snap her out of it, resist it, Rey. Rey! That was pretty heavy stuff, all during that meditation sequence where she cracks the rock. That's going to be some pretty heavy stuff there, isn't it?
Indeed.
I would say so.
Like, I see it kind of like she's lost. Like you said, she's kind of fighting in the dark, but she might even be kind of going toe-to-toe with Snoke in a way, you know? Like, and maybe her... I've always kind of seen Acto as a possible amplifier of the Force, possibly. Whatever she's doing, we know her raw strength. She's able to tap into it, you know? And, Luke's kind of... He's so curious as to what she's seeing, and then, she's lost in this inner, like, outer body experience, whatever you want to call it, like she's just in that state of mind where she's having her vision and she can't get out. But maybe it could be her up against Snoke.
Well, I feel, I don't know if you could be right. Acto could be this amplifier of Force energy, but I would think she is that before the place.
Well, I think it takes someone like her to possibly, like, reach its full potential, kind of like the way you see like Luke kind of freaking out, like being like, oh no, like
Yeah, Luke was pretty worried there. Like, I don't know what's next or what happens if he doesn't pull her out of that trance. But Luke seemed pretty, like, there was an urgency with Luke to get her out of that trance, out of that state.
That was pretty interesting.
And another moment, or actually the only other moment that caught me in that TV spot, was Poe staring out of his X-wing at this massive explosion, and there's a very deep look of concern on his face, like he had just lost something pretty major to the Resistance. Was that the destruction? Yeah, you think?
I noticed the same thing. I said that's the only in this trailer. It's the only new thing that's kind of any relevance. But yeah, it's possible. We know she's going to survive the incident, but we've heard there's been rumors that there is some kind of incident with her, and
I mean, I think everything we've seen of Leia is, one of the opening sequences of the film, which we believe is the escape from Dakar. I think that's pretty well established by now. So she's in those scenes. And then the only other time we see her is towards the end, I think, on Crate. So it seems like there's a big gap in the middle, where maybe this injury that she's reported to suffer in this movie, maybe that's what is going on here. James, anything you took out of this TV spot?
I hate to agree with Corey all the time, but I sort of, his take was mine too. I think that's probably Leia's ship, and from what we understand, we shouldn't worry too much about that particular explosion. But that's sort of what that reaction looked like.
Is that explosion from Kylo taking the shot?
I don't even know if those two scenes that they made look like they go exactly together either. I'm going to say no. It's not going to be that. Maybe Kylo takes the shot, but not in the way we saw it in that other trailer. I don't think. But the one thing I didn't see or think before Corey said it, but I do agree, is that maybe, I don't know if it's an amplifier, but maybe that Act 2 is a good place to communicate through space with other people. Call it whatever you want, antenna or temple, or maybe there is something about being there that lets her do inner force battle, inner mind battle with Snoke from really far away or something.
Well, I think there's an importance to Acto in the long run. Like the fact that it's the first Jedi temple doesn't necessarily mean that's where the first Jedi came from, per se. It could be, but it also could be that's where the first Jedi chose to kind of set up camp. Say, oh man, this planet is nuts. So we got to get set up here. This place is strong with the Force.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I think that would be it. More than this is the birthplace of the first Jedi. Although, in saying it out loud like that, I think both are equally likely.
It's true.
Well, since we're talking about Acto, which is a beginning sequence of the movie, you guys know that the opening crawl is out there, right? In YouTube form.
Don't spoil it.
No, I'm not. No, we're definitely not talking about it here. I just wanted to throw that out there just to say, guys, be careful. There is the opening crawl, and to me, it's legit. It is absolutely legit to me. And
you took a look, hey Kyle? You saw it, eh?
I looked, yeah. It wasn't a moment of I can't resist, I must check it out. To me, the opening crawl can only be, it can only be.
That's the first scene only, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no time lapse, so it can only really summarize what's happened and what we're about to see. And I think it was episode 35 or 38 where we did our own opening crawls, and guys, we pretty much hit it. We didn't get word for word.
Did you go back and look? Yeah.
Yeah, I went back and listened, and I compared the two, and of course the wording is different, but in some cases, there's some wording that is not all that different.
Whose is better? Whose was better, Kyle? Mine or yours?
Who won?
Yeah, seriously. Be honest.
You know what? We can judge that in a week from now, or in 16 days, guys. We can judge that.
You know what that means, eh, Corey? That means he thinks he won.
Well, I think it thinks that.
I think if you merged Corey's and I's, you would slice right close to the core.
Well done, guys.
Yeah. So anyway, that's out there. My biggest regret is seeing the first shot that comes after that. I didn't want to know that, but so, yeah, whatever. Not a big deal.
Keep it to yourself.
Yeah,
man.
hey, I'm not the worst here.
Corey, you're the worst.
Yeah, I didn't cave. I saw it. I saw it out there. I was like, here it is. Here's the crawl. And I was like, not gonna do it.
Anyway, you already kind of know what it is. Okay, so there was also another TV spot last week, just an international TV spot. Very interesting. I think it was it, I don't know what Asian language it was, Japanese, maybe Korean. But there was a cool shot of Rey intensely using the Force. And the interesting part of that scene was a what appears to be, Corey, you pointed this out to me in a screen cap.
100%.
A downed Praetorian guard behind her, which I thought was pretty cool. Pretty much, it kind of confirms to me that she's going to take out a bunch of these guys.
Yeah, possibly by herself or with Kylo. Regardless, it's definitely pre or post that scene where Snoke has her in his Force grasp, whatever, and she just looks like she's in so much pain. It could be post that, or it could be her kind of fighting back. You know what I mean? Because like she seems to be using the Force in quite an intense way. So it's either her coming back out of that, or like her fighting him and then eventually being subdued.
Yeah, it's one or the other, I would think. And the other interesting takeaway out of that quick TV spot was a shot of DJ with for me anyway, the look on his face was sorry kid, this first order outfit's got deeper pockets than you. Like that's the look on his face as he kind of turns over Finn and Rose into first order custody.
Oh, for sure. Like we've kind of said it from the beginning that he was kind of probably going to sell them out at one point, help them sell them out, and who knows? Maybe he'll come around again in this movie and come to his senses, but then again, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. Does he have that Lando moment in him? We shall see.
Yeah, exactly.
But James, you'd brought up an interesting conversation before we got rolling here, with regards to how spoiled do we think we are at this point? Like, I guess everybody's answer varies depending on what they think a spoiler is for them. I mean, we've spoken about virtually everything that's been out there, at least all the officially sanctioned stuff. At this point, I consider myself only a little bit spoiled. Like there's
I don't
nothing...
consider myself very spoiled at all. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not very spoiled at all.
Like the most egregious thing I've seen again is that opening crawl. That's the worst thing I've seen. But Corey, what about you?
I do feel more than I have for any other Star Wars film anyhow. Like just in the sense that, like you said, we've been dissecting everything, and I find the trailers now that there's been so many TV spots to add on to them that for the most part, I have a very good idea of how the film's going to progress. It's just what's the in-between that's going to just a few things in between that we have questions about. But for the most part, we can see how the film's going to go.
Well, that's something we'll do in episode 105? Is that going to be our last podcast before we see The Last Jedi? So, yeah. Yeah, episode 105. We may take a stab at that. We'll see if we can piece together the movie based on what we think we know. And that will be what we do during that entire episode. But we'll see.
I'm just going to remind you, Corey, you sound pretty confident, but there were entire shots that were not used. Remember the TIE fighter scene? It was not even in the movie. So some of the assumptions you're making could be based on very misleading information.
True, but once it plays out, we'll see. I don't know. I just have a rough idea of how the story's going to start, fork out, which characters are going to go on which paths, and how they're going to reconvene possibly at the end. And I don't know the in-between part, I guess. There's obviously these things that the big things we're looking forward to are actually, we have that coming up as a question later, so we'll save it. But there's some stuff in between, but just the linear, basic line of, I guess, the story of our main characters and the Resistance per se, what's going to happen to them, where they're going to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of know the barest skeleton of this movie, but we'll see how much more meat we can add to the bones on episode 105. We'll try and go a little cut deeper than, well, it starts on Dakar and ends with Crate, and in between is a bunch of Acto. We'll try and do a little bit better than that.
I got something a little spoilerly later on, but that's something. This is something new that I'm curious if you guys have seen this yet, but we'll talk about that later.
All right. So another story that came out last week had me thinking, wondering. Actually, had a lot of people wondering: has the third standalone movie been killed? I don't know what's going on. By now, we should have known about the next standalone movie. I think back in the springtime, Kathleen Kennedy had said that they were meeting, was it in June or July, and at that point they'll make a decision. And we all thought that they would release something at either, like announce something at D23 or maybe New York Comic Con or San Diego Comic Con. I don't know. I can't remember all the names and events, but by this point we thought we would have the third standalone name and release and maybe a bunch of other info too. But we don't. But what we have in its place is Rian Johnson's trilogy. So has Rian Johnson's trilogy replaced the idea of standalones for now? Like, considering how much Lucasfilm seemingly loves The Last Jedi and the fact that saga movies pull in more money than standalones, like, have they just decided to make an easy switch here? What do you guys think?
Yes, that's what I think now after reading that article you linked me to. I think it's really weird that it's not on. There's no standalone on the calendar and they've put out this calendar for like the foreseeable future, and nowhere in there. I mean, not that they can't add to it. Of course, at any time they can. But yeah, I think it's weird they don't have news. But I don't think it's weird in looking at what's happened to the standalone movies and just to the movies in general. It's hard to get people to invest in things that aren't sure things. And as much money as the movies are making, when you're firing directors and starting from scratch and reshooting everything and picking up the tab for Ron Howard, and that's not a sure thing anymore. So yeah, I'm not shocked, but I'm disappointed, I guess.
I don't know. I'm confused about it now. Like, we know Iger said that for sure there was going to be one in 2020, but 2019 he's giving up the reins. But they rarely eat their words. But again, like you guys said, like all the turmoil in these standalone films maybe dissuaded them a bit. The only other thing it could really mean to me, well, first of all, again, like James said, like they can add to this thing anytime, and keeping Star Wars a little bit of a secret adds to the hype. It's like, boom, Star Wars film fandom. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to kind of be that way almost with Star Wars. It's Star Wars, so I'm not ruling it out. I just find it odd that if Episode 9 comes out in 2019, that then what? There's nothing in 2020, nothing in 2021?
Yeah, because nothing has a date attached to it yet.
So that would mean a 3-year gap kind of between like Ryan's project or whatever, So I don't see that being the case. I just see them not having stuff planned as well as they should, I guess. I think they have a plan. I just don't think we know that plan yet, because we know that Ryan is he's on the job now. He's starting to figure out what he's doing. And so at a Mexican presser for The Last Jedi, here's a quote from Ryan when he was asked about the new trilogy. He said, "We're going to have to see. I'm just in the very beginning of starting to come up with what the new trilogy is going to be. But I can tell you this. What makes me so excited about it is the idea of doing a new story on the big canvas of 3 movies in this world. There's just so much potential, and I can't wait to jump into it." Like, that's okay. That's great. That's a nice soundbite there. But man, can that take us down a rabbit hole, which maybe we'll fall into here. But it sounds, for me anyway, it sounds a lot less like Ryan has an idea of where this trilogy is going to be situated, and more like Lucasfilm said to Ryan, "We'd rather give you a trilogy rather than struggle along with these standalones." Like, I think this is, for them, it's better profit margins, less bad press. Ryan, are you interested?
It sounds like, and this makes sense if you think about it. It sounds like they bought into the guy, not his pitch, and they weren't happy with the guy a few times in a row. They weren't happy with the guy, and now they're happy with the middleman, we'll call him. Rian Johnson, takes direction from above well, apparently. He listens and does the right things, and they're happy with him. And so they bought into him, and not, it's not like he made this great pitch and says, I have this idea that they bought into. They just want him in charge because he does it. I guess he's a good follower.
Yeah, well, he knows how to play in the sandbox. He understands that he can tell whatever story he wants so long as it does this, this, and that, and feels like Star Wars. And it sounds like he's tuned into that.
And he sounds like they wanted a fan, and he sold himself as a fan. Like, not that I think it's fake. I think he is a fan, but like, I think they bought into his enthusiasm, which
I think they bought into The Last Jedi. I think that was the test, which he passed with flying colors.
Yeah, I mean, at least in their eyes, there's no question about that. That whatever he's delivered to them, they feel like it's going to be incredible, and that they can entrust this guy to oversee one movie very directly, and two others at least from a supervisory role. But
check this out. This is so funny, man. Like I think it was like a week, not even 2 weeks ago. We're talking here. James and I were talking behind the scenes. We're talking about two movies a year, and now we're talking about possibly a movie every 2 years.
Well, yeah. I mean, we have no idea, right? I mean,
like, what did they try? Like, that's a big jump, man. 2 movies a year compared to 1 movie every 2 years.
Well, I don't know that. I just think I don't know that 2 a year was ever really realistic.
No, I don't want it to be like 1 a year is nice, and like I said, I really don't think they are going to step back from the standalone. They're still super profitable. They're still. They said they're going to do them. They said they had a third one planned. I can't see them not moving forward with that plan.
Well, I think they will. It just, at what point is that coming? Is that an imminent announcement? Is that going to be a gap filler while Ryan preps his work, or has that been punted into the future, like 2025 or 10 years from now? I don't know, but
could it, Kyle, do you think have something to do with the fact that the story hinders on something we don't know yet, so they just don't want to put any news out?
Oh, that's very possible. Sure.
Like Rey's parentage, like she is a Kenobi. I'm not saying that's what I think, but like, is that possibly why we don't know yet?
Yeah. You mean about Kenobi or about the next standalone?
The next standalone,
standalone in
like
general.
They basically like watch episode 8, and the events of episode 8 will kind of say like, okay, now we understand more why we're getting this future standalone.
Well, is it also a coincidence that we lost our episode 9 director and gained JJ back, and now the standalone movie seems to have disappeared into the ether? Have they kind of said, okay, now we kind of thought we knew where we were going with the standalone, which sort of hinged on episode 8 and 9. Now we need to see what JJ does, so we're going to have to pull back on the standalone. Maybe that plays into it a little bit. But
yeah, maybe.
But Corey and I, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, and we were convinced, and I think most of fandom was, that whatever Ryan is laying down for us in The Last Jedi is going to be what we get in his trilogy. And it might be. He might build off that directly, but it might not be. It might be completely disconnected. Like, to me, it sounds like Lucasfilm has said, please, like, just be our new George Lucas and do what you want. Like, we don't want the standalones are just too messy. I mean, we could be completely off, but it sounds to me, based on that quote, it sounds to me like he's the blank slate thing is like spot on. That is exactly what he's working with.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, he proved himself again in this film. They love what he's done, and the mass public hasn't even seen it yet. Like, that's again the most crazy part. We haven't even seen this movie, and they just gave him the keys, man. And they announced it pre-release of the movie.
Yeah, no, it's all very surprising, very crazy.
I wonder if that's psychology. I wonder if that's like supposed to like make us know that it's good, so we like it more.
Yeah,
I wonder if they thought if that's calculated at all.
That's interesting.
We kind of talked about that as well in a way. Like, it's like advertising in a way. It's like marketing. It's like people are like, what? Like, when they catch
this movie is so good, we gave him the next 3 already. Just so you know, that's how good it is. Like, just puts that seed.
Yeah, absolutely. I would not be shocked if that was part of this one little bit. But does it concern you at all? Like, would you prefer that Ryan already had an idea that he had pitched for a trilogy and that they ate up, or that they said, Ryan, please figure this out for us?
I was hoping he had some crazy idea that they loved. I mean, I'm glad that they love the guy, but I thought it was not that I thought it was, but I guess I hoped it was that he had, he had someone's ear while he was doing this project and said, by the way, imagine this. And they were like, oh man, yes, you got a trilogy.
Well, again,
that's sort of what I thought. And maybe that is that is
the
case.
quote is in no means, it's not so iron or watertight that there's no way that that's not possible. It just sounds to me like he was caught very off guard by it, and he's trying to develop his best idea for 3 movies.
I see it being like, once he was done, they kind of presented the idea to him, and like saying like, can you come up with something? Like, we really enjoyed working with you. We're willing to do this. And him probably taking a few days to think about it and being like, yeah, this is awesome. Like, I could totally do this.
By a few days, you mean like as quickly as he could get the breath out?
Well, that's not what he did with The Last Jedi. He even asked them, when they told him, the movie's yours, do you want it? And he was like, can I take a day or two to think about it? And they were like, yeah, sure, no problem.
I wonder if it's worn off, though, now that he's...
Yeah, now that he had so much fun and it went so well that, it's maybe
he's not a stupid guy, though. Like, he's talking about what we're talking about, too. Like, man, my movie hasn't even come out yet. Like, what happens if that isn't received well and you're offering me, to supervise a whole new trilogy? Like, that's a big responsibility, man. You know how fandom is just brutal. Like... trilogy. It's not just one film. This is a guy that's
bought himself already a lot of rope. Like, think back to Celebration when he stayed up till 4 a.m. signing things for fans, and then being on stage at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning.
That's why I think it's not fake. I don't think you can fake that kind of.
Nah, I think this guy's genuine.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so. I mean, either way, if he didn't have this bolt of lightning, brilliant pitch that Lucasfilm said, damn, here, take the keys. Here's the trilogy for you. Please do this. Even if it is them coming to him and saying, do you think you can create some more magic? I still have enough faith in him, obviously, that sure, it's whatever he comes up with, I'm sure is going to be terrific. But like James, like you said, I was hoping, and it might still be the case, that he already had something in mind that he was going to develop, but I guess time will tell. At some point, they'll whatever narrative they want to craft, they'll spin that, and we'll lap it up. All right, so let's move on into the Brezna stuff. So if you don't want to know anything more about The Last Jedi, you may want to just tune out for the next little while, because we're talking about a lot of Last Jedi stuff here from Entertainment Weekly. So step aside, porgs. In come the Vulptices in plural. Like, I'm stoked for these things, man. It sounds better in
plural, by the way.
It does sound better plural.
It's like Valkyries.
I was like, the first question that came to my head was like, Vulptices. Like, Vulpti? And I was like, And then I read the article, and it's like one of the first things it says. Anyway, it was pretty funny. But
yeah,
that's
cool.
That's actually one of the products I picked up from the 800-pound prods from Michael Pasquale. This awesome pin that he created, man. It's like, it's amazing. It's a pin, and it's like super sparkly. Like, he calls them, we were all calling them the Kyber Foxes, right? Even though we knew they weren't made of kyber crystals, whatever.
I like Kyber Fox. It's a cool name.
That would have been amazing. That would have been insane if they were. Yeah, so I really think the porgs now have some competition. But the designers, they took inspiration from crystal glass chandeliers and the sort of luminosity and elements of refraction. I don't even know really what that means, but the best part about this is they had a little dog come in and wear a bunch of straws in a suit.
I know, it's amazing.
That must have been the best day at the office. Having this little pooch at the office running around in a straw suit.
The idea that they spent so much time talking about like the luminosity really makes you think that these have to be like somehow force something, like light side, good guys. Like that kind of imagery and that kind of like metaphor can't be all accidental.
There's something about them, like they're described as like a secretive species, and like this planet Crate seems pretty barren, you know what I mean? And like that's another thing they were talking about, is their ability to survive on this planet. I mean, they eat minerals. They're made of minerals. Like, you are what you eat, like literally, with these guys.
Yeah, and to that point, James, are they force sensitive but it sounds like they definitely they actually do have a role to play in the movie, which is interesting to me. And they kind of made it sound like
right. They're gonna like be guides or something. Oh yeah, we did say spoiler alert, right? Apparently they're gonna be some sort of like guides in dark places, right? Because of their luminosity.
Yeah, and it kind of ties into something that we've spoken about a while ago. Like we talked about how the ATM-6s that kind of pull up to the gate, the gate at the resistance base, and we see a shot of the overhead shot of Kylo Ren storming that base. Or what we think is him storming that base with a bunch of snowtroopers. I think at some point, whatever resistance members are left, like they say, all right, they've broken into the base, we got to get out of here. And they start, the whoever's left, call it Finn, Poe, Rey, Leia. I can't imagine there being too many people left. They start just booting, taking off down these dark tunnels. But the Vulptices, let's get used to that, will kind of run down the tunnels and kind of light their way for them. That's kind of the way I see that.
I think it sounds awesome.
I just hope to not. I don't want to like burst James's bubble or whatever, but I want to see them being somewhat sentient and wise or whatever, but I don't necessarily know if I want to see them like strong in the Force. Like we're seeing that right now with the Loth Wolves. I don't know if maybe the Rebels is prepping us for something like that, but in the same rate, I kind of seen them just being more like smart animals, kind of wary of. They know what's going on their planet right now and who's good, who's bad.
That doesn't burst my bubble. It's not that I want them to be sentient. I just with when I was reading the article, they kept talking about how the light shimmers and refracts and the luminosity and just all the talk about light. In a galaxy where light and dark side are so important, I think there's got to be more to it than just.
I like that actually. That's cool. True, and that's kind of seems to be like a theme in this movie too. Like I guess kind of the refraction of light and how you can perceive what's good and what's evil.
I think it's got to mean more. Yeah, so it'll be really interesting to see what role they play exactly.
So here's what I think happens. I think this is me just throwing stuff at the wall here, but I think the heroes kind of beating a hasty retreat down a darkened tunnel, being led by these Vulptices, and they come to an opening in the cave, and there's going to be the Falcon. Now, possibly with Luke standing at the bottom of the ramp. Hey guys, I'm here. I'm kind of.
They could sense him in the Force, so that they knew where to go.
Yeah,
Corey.
That's kind of where my brain is at.
So then, what? He picks them up. They go through the canyon, like that scene where they're all traveling through that underground cave.
Yep.
Everybody's on board.
Absolutely, that's where I think that happened. I think that's where that's going. I can't speak tonight, man. I'm having difficult time.
Someone's been maimed in the back seat. The Falcon. Someone's getting carried on board. Come on.
Yeah, they got injured on the way down. They hit their head or whatever.
Well, there's another story which I didn't put in the show notes, but there was one specifically about the Porgs. But apparently, there's more. It sounds like there's going to be more than one Porg on the Falcon. So I hope this becomes like a Noah's Ark thing where all the surviving heroes are on it and Vulptices are on board and Porgs are on board. It's going to be this crazy festival.
And Wookiees. It'll be great.
It'll be like a carnival in the Falcon.
It would be pretty cool.
Yeah, so I was able to string together a very loose theory out of one innocuous statement. So anyway, yeah, Crystal Foxes. I think they're going to also be challenging the Porg for most endearing creature of episode 8.
I already like them better than Porgs, and I'm
me
not
too.
a Porg hater at all. But I think the foxes the Vulptices look amazing.
Yeah,
well, that's it. I think that's the thing behind it is it's just they look so. I'm gonna say it, Kyle. Magical. They look. It comes from such a
mythic.
Like mythic. Like such a creative place. Like they're made of minerals, man. Like.
Well, you know what? I think these creatures are going to go a long way in helping Episode 8 score best visual effects. It's been a while since a Star Wars flick has picked up best visual effects, and I think The Last Jedi is going to do that. Without having seen the movie, I think I'm already comfortable saying The Last Jedi should win best visual effects.
They didn't win. They didn't win Rogue One for the CGI. They must have won visual effects for Leia and Tarkin.
I don't think so.
No, they didn't.
Who won last year? I can't remember. Who beat them?
I can't remember, but all I remember is that they didn't. I was pretty pissed about that.
Was like that said, like 2017 Oscars? I'll Google that quickly.
But just like you guys said, the technical process behind something like that, the creativity and to be able to bring it to life on screen it's gonna be awesome, man. And it's such a cool, I don't know, it's just such a cool way to look at it, the possibility of an animal.
Absolutely.
Life finds a way, Corey.
Exactly. Exactly.
The Jungle Book.
Oh, well, you know, I thought Tarkin and Leia were amazing, but at least I can say, like, there was a contest there. The Jungle Book was a good-looking movie. There was a contest there.
Yeah, no, the Jungle Book, that's one that we watch an awful lot here. And
it's a good one.
I mean, I thought there were some bad shots in that, but for the most part, man, that the Panther Bagheera looked great. The tiger looked incredible. But yeah, anyway, that movie's a lot of fun. My boy loves that movie. All right, so
I can't handle the scene where they kill the wolf, but anyway, sorry. Where Kayla gets like, it's awful.
It's awful. Okay, very quickly here, Amilyn Holdo versus Poe. It sounds like they're really setting up this tete-a-tete with these two with their difference of philosophy. And it sounds like Amilyn Holdo maybe wants to negotiate or settle peacefully, diplomatically with the First Order, or maybe perhaps even suggest a surrender, whereas Poe just wants to fight. How are you guys feeling about Amilyn Holdo at this point?
Well, first I want to say I think Dern is a better Star Wars name than Holdo. I don't like it.
It's one letter away from Hondo.
I know, but that's probably why I don't like it.
I like it.
Not a fan. And for some reason, I don't like Dern. They've already made me not like her just from her look. I know that's on purpose. I read the article, and I'm not supposed to like her. I'm supposed to mistrust her. In the end, from what I sort of gathered in the short article I read from Anthony Bresnikan, I figure she's probably good in the end. We're supposed to like not think she is, but she'll come through. That's my gut instinct. But I don't like her. It worked. Her look makes me not like her and trust her.
Yeah, you know what it is? She looks somewhat pompous and snobby.
It's part of it for sure. Arrogant,
yeah.
Posh. Yeah.
That's true, but I don't know. I think by the end of this movie, anyhow, I think she'll have really earned all our respect, including Poe's. Like, Poe is still somewhat young, brash. Like, he's the kind of guy that's going to be like, no, like, I have to go back for Finn and Rey. Like, they're right there. I got to go get them. And she's just like, no. Like,
oh, good.
We need you here, you know? Like the different... again, we're going to be questioning her. And again, like, the big question is why is she taking the reins? You know what I mean? Like, why is she seems to be like... well,
we will get to that.
Over Leia at this point, you know what I mean? Which is kind of
Leia
odd.
steps away, right? That seems like maybe Leia steps away. But I wanted to, before we move on, say that I get to disagree with you. I think you're wrong. I don't think they're going to solve that. They're going to let us know if we should trust her or not. I think that's one of the things we'll be talking about between this one and the last one.
Yeah, and the next one.
Yeah, I think if Dern is trustworthy or not is not going to be cleared up in this movie.
Well, I think it'll be debatable. I think her standpoint, where she stands, will be clear with us, but whether or not we agree with her decision will be up for question. And I don't know. Like, I think by the end, we might not, again, like you guys said, we might not like her all that much, but we'll kind of possibly respect some of her decisions. Like, I don't think she's going to have the greater good in mind, you know, just a different way of going out about it. Like, she seems.
I do hear what you're saying. I just don't think we get her motivation. The reason that's going to make us sort of like accept the posh bitchy whatever we don't like about her. I think we don't get that until the next movie.
That's very, very possible. Well, you know, there's this. Obviously, there's an undercurrent of going on that is intentional. Like, are we supposed to trust her or not? Is she a First Order sympathizer? And I think you can layer that in somehow, because there's a theme of duality going on in the movie. And, you know, there's Rey and Kylo, maybe Luke and Snoke. Like, I think you can pick a character and find that person's inverse in this movie. Luke and Snoke, Finn and Phasma. They're kind of one's the loyalist and the other is the defector. There's all kinds of that going on, but maybe that like thematically they have, or plot wise they have that kind of thing going on too, because we suspect that Finn and Rose are going to try and sabotage the supremacy. Now, is the duality the inverse of that? Is Holdo within the ranks of the Resistance to sabotage the good guys from the inside? We can't say no, but we also can't say yes, which is what makes this so much fun.
We've talked about that before in the past, and we kind of speculated. I was kind of leaning more toward yes at that point, that she was kind of like a cancer or maybe working for the First Order. But now, having read this article, I really do think that she is trying to do the right thing in her own way. Like they kind of describe it in the sense, or compare it to when a new boss comes into work and tries to shake things up. Like it's a different approach. Like not everyone's kind of used to it. And again, they said she's the strategist, Poe's kind of the gung-ho, like guns blazing kind of guy, which can kind of get you killed right quick, if you don't play your cards right. They need someone behind the steering wheel like that as well. Someone with a bit more age and wisdom.
Yeah.
She went to school with Leia,
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. From the Princess Leia novel, we know that Holdo and Leia were childhood friends. So this could be just Holdo trying to be protective over her friend's legacy and being accused of being a First Order sympathizer, or just not doing things the way that Poe wants it to be done. And of course, I think we're going to side with Poe. I think that's by design. But yeah, it seems strange to me that you would have a childhood friend of Leia's who was very aloof and kind of almost like a goofy, lovable weirdo in that novel, and have her be this a two-faced whack job turncoat in The Last Jedi. I don't know that that works so well, but from what we've seen of her anyway, in those purplish gowns and that hair, you're right, James. Like, she does look like all those things that you said. But
in this article, they described her more as exotic and eccentric, kind of.
Eccentric,
like one of the people from the Hunger Games, dude.
Yes,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, she looks eccentric. That's for certain. But I think, I may be wrong, but I thought we heard about a second outfit of hers, which was a more traditional, like Vice Admiral military type suit. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think I am. So I wonder if she's part of, like, if what we're seeing, all these images we're seeing of her, is it maybe part of a Canto Bight costume disguise?
I don't think so. I think that's really truly her.
Yeah,
I think she was just this kind of like an exotic, unique individual. Yeah, I don't think she's going on this. I honestly, I don't. Why would she be? She's not going on this Canto Bight mission, man. Like, to me, she's staying at home with the Resistance. She's leading the ship now. Like, that's what I gather from this as well.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that. Okay, let's move on from Holdo, because really we don't know squat about her. We'll move on to Lando in The Last Jedi. And this is kind of confirming something we already knew. So the quote from Rian Johnson: "No, and I don't want to get their hopes up. I don't want fans to get their hopes up," writer-director Rian Johnson tells EW. "He's not in the film, and it was never really something that came up. I mean, I love that character. It would have been fun to see him, but it's just not something that ever really had a place in the story." So, like, personally, I praise Rian Johnson for this sort of discipline and restraint and respect, I guess, for the story he's telling. Because, we kind of want, like, shovelfuls of fan service. Like, we would have loved it if Lando was in this, just for the nod. Oh, look, there he is. But somebody's gonna say that role X could have been served by Lando. Like, somebody's gonna say that. As great as The Last Jedi turns out to be, somebody's gonna complain and say that instead of having that character, they could have easily made that Lando. Especially when we get down to Canto Bight. Like, someone will even suggest, that we should have seen him. Like, Finn and Rose could have barged into an office to gain access to a computer terminal, and there's Lando with his feet up on a desk, smoking a cigar, counting his credits or something, and saying, "Oh yeah, DJ, yeah, he's over there." But, like, that's the worst kind of fan service, right?
It wouldn't make any sense in a way. Like you just said, it's all about. That's exactly what it would be, fan service. Like if anything, he should be with the Resistance. But in all reality, I hope the man's lived a very peaceful life and is still living a very peaceful life somewhere in the galaxy far, far away. I mean, he's earned it. He's deserved it. But him being on Canto Bight doesn't really make any sense to me either. Like, granted, maybe he is a rich man. He was a pretty good entrepreneur, but I don't see him going there just because it looks like it's a place for like snobs and like all these aristocrats. You know, these people that don't give a crap about what's going on in the galaxy. You know, like they're betting on who's gonna win, the Resistance or the First Order. Like, I don't think he'd have any hand in that. Like, there's no like. Granted, he's a gambler, and again, I hope he stepped away from that in his later years. But I don't know. I don't see it. If there were any possibility of him being in this movie, I would really like to see him being like in an Akbar kind of role, like, you know, just super old, maybe being like an admiral or something, you know?
Yeah. James, what do you think?
I think you could easily write him in if you wanted to, but it just shows that you know, they're taking a new direction and they're trying to take the story and make it its own story. And am I disappointed? I'm not really disappointed. I think it could have been cool, but like, I sort of think it's cool that they don't need to rely on that kind of fan service. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Like, again, it would have been nice, but at the same time, it almost seems like a bit too much, you know? So I'm on that page.
I'm sure we would have loved it if we heard he was in it. We wouldn't be saying that. We wouldn't be like, this is too much. We'd be like, yeah, it's awesome. But I'm not, you know, I'm down either way, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause even Rebels comes under scorn for a little bit of that sometimes. And you look over to the standalone side, and even the novels, Vader's always there now. Like, do you need to keep leaning on Vader? Can you introduce new characters? Can you build off existing characters without having to lean on Vader? Like, come on, guys. So I'm glad. Like I said off the top there, I'm glad that Rian Johnson has the restraint and the discipline to not put in Lando just because, oh, he's one of my favorites from growing up. Let me plug him in there. Anyway, you know what? And to be honest, I'm not even sure Billy D. Williams can carry himself on screen any longer. Like, we saw him at Celebration, and yeah, he's there smiling, but it looks like the guy can barely move. He's got the voice and the charm, but the on-screen presence doesn't seem to be there. It just...
It would seem like you said, it would really be super evident of fan service. Like when you see a certain cameo in a movie, like, I don't want to ruin it for James, but there's a cameo in Thor, and you're just like, you see it. When you finally see it, you're like, oh my God, like, that's too funny, you know? Like, it becomes a joke at that point, and you don't want Lando to be a joke.
No. Lando does not deserve to be turned into a caricature. So... yeah, I mean, like Rian Johnson said, it never really came up, so it sounds like it's a moot point. Well, you know, even like Billy D. Williams, of course he said, "Oh, if they ask me, I'd be happy to do it." Well, of course you would. I mean, you know, of course you're not going to turn him down at this point. But I honestly am not even sure he could do it. But anyway, who am I to say? But I think this, you know, maybe I'm reaching here. But I
see him in like if he was in it, I see him kind of in like a hover chair. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think this puts to rest any talk of a funeral for Han in The Last Jedi.
Agreed.
Okay. Now the big one. A couple of big ones here. Luke and Leia. So I highlighted a bunch of quotes from the next two stories that will form the bones of this conversation. But here's the first one. Luke longs to have that extended family that he established in the original trilogy, but now he's at a place in his life and in his history where he's shunned all of that, Mark Hamill says. The big question is why he didn't respond to Leia during The Force Awakens. There's a lot of things you can't answer until you see this movie. And this one to me just sounds like something we all kind of already know. Luke doesn't want his bad decisions to affect Leia. Is that something you guys do? Like, do we all feel the same way, essentially?
Luke doesn't want his bad decisions to affect Leia?
Correct. Like Luke has no like last week we spoke about Luke. He has no confidence in his ability to make good choices. So I think he wanted to just remove himself, get far away from his sister, so that whatever he chooses won't blow back onto Leia. That's what I mean.
I don't know. I don't think he's doing the right thing here. I honestly think at this point, this is something we said this a lot. None of us wanted this, and I think, Kyle, you were most adamant saying that this can't be the case, but he's shunned everyone, and he's kind of squirreled, man. He's turtled.
Well, no, like they've said he's not a coward. He's not hiding.
But he's definitely, well, the only other thing is he could be waiting on Acto, but again, when Rey shows up, he wants nothing to do with her. Like, he wants to be left alone at this point. Like, that's the impression I'm getting anyhow. I haven't seen the movie or anything, but they're leading us down that path in the sense that he doesn't want to be a part of any of this. Like, he just wants to be left alone. Like, he's discommunicated from his family, and, you know, like, so be it. He's just a grumpy old man now.
Well, he had a mission, right? That's also what we've been told. There's something he's doing on Acto. And so he wants to take care of that, and he wants to stay out of everybody else's way.
Well, I think his mission is obviously Rey.
Well, I think it becomes Rey in part, but anyway. James, you have a take there?
Damn you, Corey. Stop saying things I agree with. Yeah, no, I don't really have much to add. I'll say that I'm a bit disappointed with the idea that Luke's not a little bit more together from what we can tell, but I agree with Corey. I think he's shaken and stirred, and I don't know. I'm not saying that he's hiding, but he certainly doesn't seem to be out proactively
facing his problems,
trying to solve the galaxy's problems, and I'm a bit disappointed. I think in that prospect, but we'll see. Maybe there's awesome reasons for that I'll totally buy into.
All right. And one quote that I read out of this last between Luke and Leia was, by the end of it all, like Luke needs Leia as much as she needs him, which I found kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is an interesting one. So another one here is, in this movie, she finds herself no longer leading the Resistance, with power shifting to Laura Dern's Vice Admiral Holdo. That in itself is interesting. We already talked about that, but no longer leading the Resistance. I found that alarming. Like something.
It is, like, especially, I don't want it to be a power play. If it's a power play, then we don't.
I don't think it's that. I think she steps away and says
it has to be that. For me
Han
to accept
died,
it, yeah.
And I got to my priorities are now completely shifted, and you guys got to take over this because it's family right now. I got to solve this. My son and my brother, and
emotionally compromised.
Here you go, childhood best friend. I need you to take over while I figure out this family stuff. It's got to be that, right?
I hope so, because if it's Holdo kind of worm-tonguing her, being like,
no way. I don't think it's that.
You're emotionally compromised. You should probably hand the reins over to someone you can trust.
Maybe that's why we don't trust her. Maybe
exactly.
Maybe we know, or maybe maybe they keep secret the conversation that Leia has with her, asking her, and it looks like a power play. Maybe that's part of the mislead.
Yeah, I like that, actually.
That makes an awful lot of sense. All right, so power shifting to Laura Dern's Vice Admiral Holdo, who has been an ally of Leia since they were girls in the early days of the rebellion. We don't know the full circumstances of her leadership's handoff, but Leia could be turning her attention towards a more personal mission, which we just talked about. She has seen her only son turn cruel and murderous, and although she primarily blames the influence of Supreme Leader Snoke, she also partly blames herself. So it sounds like Leia's kind of given the keys over to Holdo and Poe and said, take care of this. It's your deal now. Maybe Holdo, again, thinks that's a dumb idea because Poe's too hot-headed and lacks the smarts and experience. And maybe she just tries to pull rank. I think,
to me, it means that Leia's, like, her injuries. Remember, we had suspected that her injuries were the reason why Holdo and Poe came to the fore. But I almost feel like it's like Leia knowing what lies ahead for her and kind of like handing handing it over to them, but then possibly getting injured for a short period or a long period, who knows? But at one point, I think she's going to consciously give it to them before and if she's injured in this.
Yeah, and think back to Poe Dameron number 16, where she very strongly hints at the fact that she needs to. I think she was specifically addressing Poe, saying, "I need you to stick around because I can't be doing this forever."
Yeah, she even used the words luminous.
Yeah. All right, so next quote. Kylo Ren does too. And that's in regards to blaming Leia. With Adam Driver saying the character of Ben Solo was driven to darkness because he already felt he was in the shadows. The cause was always at the top of Leia's priorities, and although it may have been the right choice, that devotion came at a cost. So, very basic question here for you guys. Like, how does it make you feel that Han and Leia turned out to be crappy parents?
Kind of sucks, to be honest. Like, it really does. Like, you always wanted the happily ever after for all of them, but man, it's so funny when you think about it. The Return of the Jedi, and now 2 films later, The Last Jedi. It's like, all right,
that went well.
That was kind of a bust.
Though, I'll say, if you really look at it from a character perspective, Leia and Han should have been terrible parents.
I agree.
The Han you met in the original trilogy should not have been a good father. And the Leia should have been a great general, but not a great mom. So,
I can
really,
see
they stayed pretty true to character.
Well, I find, again, in the Return of the Jedi, Leia's a little, like, coming to terms with her, like, not femininity, but more like she's softened herself. She's broken down some walls where she can let people in and be a little more, like, nurturing or whatever it is, like.
She bluffs when they're about to blow up her planet. She gives the wrong location for the rebel base.
She has
a new
ice water in
hope.
her veins. No doubt about that.
I'm just saying.
By Return of the Jedi,
though,
like, I've seen her, like, come full circle, kind of that character.
But I mean, she is motherly in that way when she had to be. Like, she comforts Luke after they lose Kenobi. Again, they're there for each other in a very comforting way at the end of Empire. And she's there for Luke when she discovers him dangling from that weather vane. And then, of course, like,
yeah, but you can be comforting and still, like, I just don't, the mother role, the idea of her, abandoning all those things that she found to be so important, her duties and her drive and her ambitions. That I don't know. It just makes sense. All I'm saying is I can buy that they would be bad parents.
Yeah, no, I can buy it too. I don't know how I feel about it yet. At the end of Jedi, you kind of figured like everybody's going to just have this wonderful rest of their life, but they kind of.
I love how you guys did not argue with me about Han. You tried a little bit for Leia, but just Han's a bad dad, and that's just.
Yeah, like he just like with Leia's position in the galaxy, like Han just should have been a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah, I don't see that for Han.
Like,
yeah, he's like, me and Chewie just got to go out on a quick little run here.
Like, we'll be at Moe's. Like, Space Moe's.
I mean, at best, he would have been like a Red Foreman. At best. Like, he just wouldn't want any flack from his kid at all. But yeah, anyway.
Not a good dad.
All right, moving on. After all these years in service to the wider galaxy, it may be time for the Skywalkers to bring balance to themselves. In The Force Awakens, Leia needed Luke's help, and she couldn't fathom why he exiled himself. But now he needs her as much as she needs him. It would be an appropriate bookend if she turned up to rescue him this time. So my question is, does Leia not know what Kylo did at Luke's Academy? Like, have Luke and Leia not spoken at all? Like, it seems like there's like Han knew. I wonder if there's any room here for Leia not knowing what Kylo did.
No, she knows. Like, the conversation that her and Han had in The Force Awakens kind of alludes to that as well.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, she knows that Kylo's with Snoke, but like, does she really know what led him there? I guess so, right?
Don't they call him? Yeah, I'm sure she does, for sure.
Because like she seems to find it strange, right? Like, it says here in the quote, she couldn't fathom why Luke exiled himself. Well, really? Like it seems weird to me why Leia would find that strange if she knows what Kylo did.
It's kind of like her saying, like, man, don't you know my kid was so messed up? Like, it's my fault, not yours.
I like that. Okay, a couple more here with Luke and Leia. So this is a Luke far, far away from the collected and confident hero we last saw in Return of the Jedi. Decades later, he is a man broken by disappointment who believes his decisions only lead to death and suffering. He doesn't think he can help Rey. He needs some guidance himself. And then Mark Hamill says he's not the happy-go-lucky farm boy anymore. He's sort of bellicose, I don't know what that means, and has the weight of the world on his shoulders. So again, we've touched on this before, but now we know that he doesn't think he can help Rey. Not so much that he doesn't want to. Although I think we'll see elements of both. I can't and I don't want to. Get out of here. But James, you booed that, so.
Like I said, I'm open to the idea that I can still like the direction they've taken him in, but it's not my preferred one. That's not the future I imagined for the Jedi that stood triumphantly around the Yub Nub campfire.
Yeah, can you really see that guy with a porg prod, like a cattle prod for porgs? You know what I mean?
Well,
like he has one. That's what it looks like.
I mean, I guess living that life is it's sort of a roller coaster. Like there's 30 years in between, right? So I think there's probably plenty of space for him to have those triumphant moments.
But it was a triumph, man. The return of the Jedi, man. They were back.
Balance to the Force, all of it.
He got so far in rebuilding an academy, and I don't know if he had 3 students or 300. I have no clue. But it seems like he was on the right path until Kylo did what he did.
It was another Vergence, man. It's raw strength and power, the dark and the light. There's 2 of them.
So I will be displeased if this is how it all ends for Luke, with him sort of being this grumpy old man, get off my lawn type stuff. If that's how this plays out for Luke, and we don't ever get not another redemption for Luke, but we need Luke to like step up at some point and reclaim that spot, right? Where like the hero spot. There's the Luke that we saw at the end of Jedi around the Yub Nub table.
Well, I would really hope so. Like I don't necessarily know if we're gonna see that. I hope we see the smiling Luke. We gotta see smiling Luke by the end of this trilogy, if not by the end of this film.
I don't even know. It doesn't have to be smiling Luke. It just has to be sort of, we did it. This is what we've been after all this time. Like I don't need to see Luke cracking open a bottle of space beer and, or shotgunning a bunch of space beer because they finally figured it all out. You know what I mean? It's just
not by the end of this film anyhow, but I would like to see him, like that moment for me in Jedi when he's looking over the tree with his hand, or he's just leaning up against the tree and he's smiling. Like, I love that scene so much, man. It's like such a resolution, like. But I don't know if that's not his place in this trilogy, it looks like, and I don't know how they're going to handle that.
Yeah, maybe look, all we can do is just hop on board and try do our best to enjoy the ride, which I don't have to really think that hard about it. I think I'm going to enjoy it. I like the idea.
It's him, Leia, Force Ghost Leia.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Force Ghost Luke.
No.
Looking back at Rey.
No.
It's Rey looking onto them in the end.
No.
Yeah.
I really don't. We'll get into that maybe after The Last Jedi, but yeah, I don't. No, I'm not going to do it. All right. So, anything else to say on Luke?
Not too much. I mean, really interested to see where these characters are going to be at the end of this film, both Leia and Luke, because we know around Leia it's kind of shrouded in mystery still, but the character's not really moving forward, and again, we don't know where Luke's headed either.
Yep. All right, last thing on Luke and Leia here. So whether they actually get that reunion in The Last Jedi isn't a given, though. It's nice seeing them on the cover, even if it's all we have, Johnson says. I don't know if he's being coy or if he's just teasing us, but we're getting a reunion, right?
I really do hope so. But him saying that kind of, again, doesn't spoil anything for me. So it still puts me on edge thinking that, there's still a very good chance that they won't.
I think there's a 90% chance that we get the reunion. I am almost certain.
I hope so. I hope so, but I like the way that he still instilled that fear and that doubt in me.
Yeah, we're supposed to be. I'm glad he does. I'm glad he's so skilled at that. That's what makes all this so much fun. James, I think you're back.
I am back.
All right, so we're just talking about Luke and Leia reuniting in The Last Jedi and whether or not that's going to happen. I think it's something we all want to see, but do you think it's something we are going to see?
I'm with you, Kyle. Definitely going to see the reunion. No doubt about it.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't get Han, Luke, and Leia, so we better get Luke and Leia at the very least. Like, that's to me, it's got to happen. And I look back to Vanity Fair pictures, and there's an image of Rey and, Daisy and Mark and Carrie on set together, all in costume. And I got to imagine that this is them on set shooting a scene together. I have to imagine that there will be that scene. And I even talked about it before. With the Volptices leading the heroes out of the tunnel system onto possibly Luke Skywalker waiting in the Falcon to rescue them. There's your reunion scene right there. Could be on board the Falcon. It could, I don't know, but I'm
on board the Falcon would be pretty sweet.
It would be, for sure. But yeah, that's 90% for me is the number I'm going with. Definitely going to see those two back together. Corey, you want to put a number to it?
Yeah, 80%. There you go. Whatever. Same difference.
Okay, so let's move on to Snoke. We're finally getting some info on Snoke. So a quote from the Bresnabaum piece on Snoke. Some people absorb unspeakable pain, then vow to spend the rest of their lives working and fighting to make sure no one else has to suffer as they did. Others endure the same agony, but deal with it by magnifying that pain and blasting it back upon the world. Supreme Leader Snoke is one of the latter. It almost sounds like they're saying that Snoke has been wronged and is just an angry old man. Like, is it that simple?
He has a vendetta, that's for sure. Like, what they also kind of stated or allude to is that he's always kind of had a bit of an opulent lifestyle. So him having been, whatever's happened to him, he's obviously gone through some kind of traumatic experience where his physical ability has been diminished. Like, he pretty much was crushed or whatever it is at the hands of either the Resistance or someone, but he has an agenda because of that, because so much was taken away from him in that regard.
Well, how old do we think this guy is? Like, is this guy thousands of years old, and his injuries are, they're battle scars from an ancient time, or is it something that's happened to him in the interim between episodes 6 and 7 that maybe Luke inflicted, which is why he's so mad at Luke, and maybe Leia and the rest of the gang also had something to do with it. What do you think?
I'd like to think like that it was an older thing in a way.
I'd like to too, but I'm not convinced. I think he might be only like regular old, not hundreds of years old, but 80 or 100.
I don't see him being like Yoda 1,000-year-old, but I see him being like, we know he won't we understand anyway. He was around in the prequels throughout, so I don't know. I'm gonna give him at least 100.
Could he be old enough to be the chief villain in Rian Johnson's next trilogy?
Possible. He could be the brother. You know what I mean?
The brother of the first pair of Jedi. You're saying?
Yeah, the twins.
If that's indeed a thing. Yeah, maybe. I mean, this is a super reach. But yeah, maybe the events of Ryan's trilogy we see Snoke sort of take off into the unknown reaches, and then it builds into the Skywalker saga, where Snoke has made his return.
Yeah, because we know also another in a really interesting way, though, when you think about it, like Thrawn was preparing himself for what was in the unknown regions. Palpatine was always trying to communicate with the unknown regions. Like there was something going on in there that they all knew about, and or Snoke's very they mentioned in this, he's super powerful with the dark side, which is really interesting. Just he's limited by physical ability.
Yeah. All right, so next. James, did you want to chime in there?
I don't really have anything substantial to add. I did think it was really cool, and I was a little surprised to find out that he's like super strong in the dark side. I thought he probably was when he said he was going to complete Kylo's training, but there was a small part of me that still thought that maybe he was not all he was cracked up to be. That he was oversold.
Yeah, I see that. Okay, so Circus describes a cruel master, a 9-foot-tall alien humanoid who disparages and dominates his 2 lieutenants, Kylo Ren and General Hux. He's a predator who identifies weakness and exploits it, drawing the young and promising to his side with promises of power, then using and discarding his protégés when they are no longer of use. And so what jumped out at me is, now he's 9 feet tall. He used to be 7, then he was 8, now he's 9, and I think by the time the movie drops, like he'll be eating peanuts off the top of a phone pole. I don't know, this guy just keeps getting taller and taller, but Han warned us, right? Han warns Kylo that Snoke is going to dump him and crush him when he's done with him. And I think that speaks to it. For me, it sounds like there's a known history of this character. It's not a secret who Snoke is.
Yeah, like Leia seems to know of him. Like she even says like Snoke,
Yeah, I mean it's either a secret amongst that inner circle, or is Snoke sort of known everywhere? I have no clue, but I don't think any of us can make an educated guess one way or the other.
I want to know if he has a relationship with Luke as well. Like that's a big thing.
I think Snoke, for some reason, I get the impression Snoke was well known to Luke and Leia and Han, like maybe even casual conversation before crap hit the fan.
Yeah, I think in Aftermath, when we first learned that Leia is pregnant, she felt this dread, like there was this dark force around her pregnancy, something that was just kind of over her shoulder that she couldn't identify. And I think we're led to believe that this is Snoke already zoning in on Kylo before he's even born.
He's like the true puppeteer. He's like, it seems like he's even above Palpatine's abilities almost, like playing this super long game.
It's possible. I have a little bit of a problem with making villains bigger and stronger and more ambitious than Palpatine. But I guess that's another problem for another day. Yeah, so going on here, his training of Kylo Ren is not yielding what he wants, Circus says. So this is, again, it's going to leave Kylo feeling adequate yet again, right? Like his family doesn't want him.
Inadequate.
Yeah, sorry, inadequate. His family, from his perspective, his family didn't want him. And he believes that Snoke doesn't want him. So where does he have left to turn? Like, does he turn to Rey?
Well, I think he's going to find out that Snoke's ultimate goal in the long run pretty much was Rey. Like Snoke seems to be after this girl, and I think Kylo's gonna kind of realize that and be like, "What the hell?
I thought I was your boy."
That's exactly like you just used me this whole long to get to her. Like,
well, I don't know if Snoke knew about Rey and only clued into her once Kylo told Snoke about her. Bring her to me. Was that sort of his moment where Snoke's moment where he goes, "Oh, there's somebody else like this guy. I can replace Kylo with her. Great."
No,
I think he knew both he and Kylo. I think have had visions of her.
something. Kylo knew too. The way he reacts in a couple of those scenes, the
Of
girl,
course.
all that. Yeah, he knew.
Big
They
time.
knew.
He knew.
big time.
Kylo knew. I don't know. I wonder if that's sort of Kylo's secret weapon, that these visions of Rey and whatever else is included in those visions. Is it something that is exclusive to between him and Rey that they can eventually use against Snoke together?
I like that. I see Kylo backlashing against Snoke in this film, just because.
I mean, he's got to have a weakness somewhere, right? There's got to be some. Yeah, Snoke. Snoke's got to have. There's got to be a little crack in the armor somewhere.
Yeah, big time. I think what we're gonna see though is his Force ability is gonna be like stronger again than I say Palpatine. Like he's gonna wield the Force in a whole new way. Like it's gonna be pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, and that plays into
he has a different understanding, man, of the Force.
Yeah, the quote that James was getting at before is the thing about Snoke is that he's extremely strong with the Force, the dark side of the Force. I mean, the trailer before it kind of stamped it all out, but like we can throw dirt on that talking point for good. That Snoke, maybe he's just a puppet master, and he's not really strong in the Force. I know that we talked about that as a possibility. I personally felt that he was always the big bad Force user, but I guess I see how that could have been a thing, but that's dead now, right? Dead, completely dead.
Yeah, he's not a Wizard of Oz kind of guy. He's the real deal. But possibly in a way, he's still very frail and weakened, and in a weakened state. Like all he's got is the Force now, so his ability to wield it is all he's got. So I think he's really honed those skills. Like that's what's scary about him, kind of. It's not like he's gonna like take you out in a lightsaber battle. He's gonna use whatever he's learned that you haven't. Like you're gonna see some crazy shit.
Is it kind of weird, or I don't know if weird's the right word, odd, but we know of a guy who was super strong in the Force, whose body got all mangled up, and so they used technology to make him like this really killer suit. Like why doesn't Snoke have a really killer suit if his body's all mangled up?
That is a great question.
True. That's it. I think, again, maybe he's trying to heal himself in a way, you know what I mean?
Maybe he believes it a perversion of nature?
Maybe. There's got to be, maybe there doesn't have to be a reason, but it strikes me as interesting.
That is definitely interesting. That is absolutely
that is a good point, actually. He should have like a breathing apparatus or something.
Okay, so lastly, perhaps he does suffer so much. Snoke also makes a point to indulge in the comfort and riches that power bestows. But what's not clear to me in all of this is what is Snoke's motivation? Like, is he just after total power and treasure?
It sounds like revenge and greed.
Yeah, it seems like he's got a vendetta and he wants to be rich and live an opulent lifestyle.
I mean,
and that's what I like about his.
He does live the lifestyle he wants. Is it all about now just getting rid of the Resistance? Is that it?
He has a vendetta against something happened to him where he's horribly been disfigured that way, and he wants people to pay who he feels are responsible. Like that, and again, like I like the fact that there's a dark side user that's not all dark and drab and gray and black. Like this guy's like, gold, give me gold.
Well, that's
probably part of the mislead too. He's all opulent. He looks like a character from Hunger Games 2, and so like Dern sort of got like that in common with him.
Yeah. At least from outward appearances, right?
Yeah.
But it seems like he's built up something even more powerful and has even deeper resources than the Empire, and all that so he can just have more stuff. Like, doesn't that seem to pale in comparison to Palpatine's motivation, which were to gain the ability to control reality? Like that's the ultimate motivation, I would think. But it sounds like Snoke just wants no enemies, and he wants all the money for himself.
Not only that, though, like I really do believe that Snoke knows what's going on in the Force, whereas Luke and Rey and Kylo, in a certain regard, he's not letting them know. He knows what's going on. Like, these guys are still trying to figure it out, where he's kind of like wise, like, oh, the dark rises and the light to meet it. You know, like, he knows this is all going to happen, and it's all kind of like played out in his head already. Like he's playing some kind of long game with the Force. Like, for me, like, he's after Rey for a reason, and it has to do with the Force.
Well, of course, yeah.
Like, it has to do with some kind of, like again, unlocking some kind of ancient mystery or secret. Like, he knows about it already. Like, Luke and Rey are trying to figure that mystery out. Whereas he knows, like, the combination of this, that is going to give us this.
You figure, I don't know. There's been rumors, but you figure the Force Ghost will be working a little harder from the other side to counter some of this stuff.
That's it, man. Force Ghost Anakin. How can he... Here's
Force
the
Ghost
theory.
Yoda. Come on, man.
Yeah, but Anakin's the chosen one. Come on. Luke and Leia. How's this, Kyle? Anakin has been training Leia behind the scenes on a daily basis.
Boo.
Yeah, no.
I would like to see him choose Leia over Luke. That's the way it was in Legends anyhow. I remember he kept on attempting to visit Leia, and she, like, shunned him for so long. Like,
well, and that's just it. Like, she's, as far as we know, Leia has never really accepted or forgiven her father, I don't think. I don't know, has she? I know she's accepted the
so.
truth,
He blew up
but
all
I don't
those
think
people
she's
right in front of him. Yeah.
I don't think she's ever come to the point where, oh yeah, like, I think maybe in Bloodline, she knows through Luke's account what Anakin did in killing the Emperor and bringing it all to an end. But I don't know that it didn't sound to me at that point that she really bought into it. Like, oh yeah, he died a good guy. Like, she still sounded very much angry with him, which I think she'd carry around forever. This is the guy that stood there while her planet was destroyed. I mean, he did all kinds of terrible things. Yeah, I don't know. I think I've lost track of where we were there, but no, I don't think Anakin has been training Leia behind the scenes. And you're right, James. To go back further, like, why didn't Force Ghost Anakin visit his grandson and be like, dude, no?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you figure they'd be more... If there's stuff that Luke doesn't know about the Force, all this new... I mean, maybe as a Force Ghost, they don't have access to that information either, but I just... They've been uninvolved, so you figure they're going to get involved, you know?
the Force was asleep. It's true.
Yeah, well,
The Force reawakened.
I guess.
Oh, the Force goes dormant and suddenly, what? No more Force Ghosts? No nothing?
Yeah, maybe it fluctuates or something, you know? Where they can only do it cyclically. I don't know.
I don't know. Oh, well, we're in for a lot of boring stories then between...
Well, no, I wouldn't say not cyclically, but like, you know, like this is obviously like a bit of an anomaly where in, again, the Return of the Jedi, we seem to have a balance, and now it's not even 30 years later, and like the Force has gone to sleep, all this stuff, it's reawakening, there's a whole new saga to be told, whereas in the past it's been like, okay, something like that happens, we have this Virgins, this Chosen One, and, you know, it's been a couple thousand years before something like that happens again, you know?
Yeah. All right, I think we're done with the Bresna bomb.
I'm done.
Kaboom.
Kaboom. All right, well, hats off to Anthony Bresnikan again. Another, I mean, this podcast is sponsored by Anthony Bresnikan at Entertainment Weekly. Yeah, go out, support the guy, buy a copy of this week's Entertainment Weekly, and you know, it's easy for us to just go and click the site and, you know, gravy train a few episodes a year off of his work. But yeah, if you really want to say thanks to the guy, just support his work and pick up a copy of Entertainment Weekly. That's what I will do as soon as I see a copy. All right, so you guys ready for a quick little break?
Oh yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, so you guys are going to hear the start of the Binary Sunset, which of course is always kicked off by ads. But in reality, we're all going to take 5 here and refresh.
Hello, boys. Hope you're both well. Hope you've both had good weeks. So, another question for you to have a chat about. Not long now, a matter of days, really, till The Last Jedi. So, getting very excited about that. I'd like you to have a talk about lightsabers and a little prediction. How many different lightsabers will be ignited in The Last Jedi, and whose will they be, and what colour will they be? I'm going to go for 3. Rey's blue, Kylo's red, and I do think that we will see Luke's ignite the green at some point. And for completeness, I don't think we'll see Snoke with a lightsaber in this film. So kick that round for a bit. I'll look forward to listening. Take care. Bye.
All right, there goes ads. Thank you once again, sir. And yes, we are getting close, man. Getting unspeakably excited for The Last Jedi. Its release is just a couple weeks away. So just a few more weeks of idle speculation that I can't say I'm getting fed up of it, but I think we've just beaten this movie up as much as any movie can be beaten up by this point. Okay, so Corey, we've lost James again for a few minutes while he tends to an unhappy camper. So what do you think? How many sabers are we getting in this movie, and who's going to have them? What color are they going to be?
Well, to be honest, I want to break this down a bit, but I'll tell you my final answer right off the bat is it's 2 sabers, the red and the blue. That's it. I honestly do believe that. And I'll tell you why. There's one possibility people have kicked around is that the green is hidden inside R2 still, and that it's going to make its appearance, but I really truly do think that thing is gone in the whatever happened at the Luke's Jedi Temple, his academy. We see him wearing a kyber crystal around his neck. Mark at TSW has speculated this a long time. We had talked about it as well. But I think there's a reason why Kylo's saber acts kind of funny. Like, it's not a solid beam like we've seen with all other sabers. So I do believe there's something that the crystal is cracked, and it could be from green, and Luke has the other half of that crystal. That makes a lot of sense to me. So I don't know if we're gonna see Luke really wield green. So we know we have red and blue. The only other possibility is Snoke, and again, I think Snoke is so weakened, like we had just discussed. Like, his physical state is not one where he's going to go toe-to-toe with someone in physical combat. He's more a wielder with his mind, which is interesting, and I think that's what we're going to see more with Luke as well. Like, yes, we know Luke wields a saber in this. We don't know if it's only for training purposes, but both he and Snoke, they might use the Force
or a staff.
No, we see him in that glass, and there was also a shot of him holding the blue saber
in a poster.
Rey's saber. Yeah, there's a poster and there's a tumbler, like glass, that we see him holding it.
What's up, boys?
So,
Hey,
he's back.
Sorry about that. My kid's screaming his head off upstairs.
Yes, it sounded like there was more than one kid.
No, that's my wife crying too.
Oh no.
And it's funny because it's sort of true, but no, yeah, the other one's up too. She was just getting water though.
Oh man.
Yes, lightsaber talk. I came in at a good point. Hey, how many action figures of Snoke have been released so far?
2. Or, well, no, like, you got the 3 3/4. There's been 1 with that playset. It's a big playset, and there's 2 6-inch, same figure. 1 comes with a throne.
Is that a small number for a pretty major character? You think it's because they're waiting to release a bunch with lightsabers or whatever his weapon's going to be?
Well, that's the thing I was just saying. I don't think he's going to have necessarily a weapon per se. I think his weapon is his ability to use the Force, just because we just discussed his physical ability being kind of somewhat diminished from his injuries. I do believe that ring on his finger is indeed a kyber crystal, a black one. Now, how he's able to wield that is what's going to be interesting. Let it be with his mind, or who knows what he can conjure up with this thing, but I don't think he's going to have a sword per se. but I
No
do
way.
think he
I
might
think he will.
utilize. I don't know, man. I just because they said it like right away, like his physical abilities kind of been diminished. Like I see him being so powerful in the Force, using the Force in a weird way that kind of cheating in a sense, almost.
Loopholing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
loopholing. That's what I was thinking.
Something like that. But
You
I
can't
do
sell
think
that. You can't. There's no toy for that.
well, it depends. Like we've seen a lot of stuff in his throne room. You know what I mean? Like again, he's got the ring.
Got to have a weapon, dude.
Not necessarily. He's got the Praetorian
The
Guard.
the Emperor didn't, but he did wield one in the prequels, mind you.
Yeah, we don't know what was up his sleeve in episode 6. Could he have, if he wanted to, could he have gotten involved with his lightsaber as well?
Probably.
I mean, he at that point, like he felt he was the fattest cat, right? So does he need to walk around all day long with a lightsaber up his sleeve?
Yeah, but isn't that like just like a cross on a monk? Like, isn't it just like part of your?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, the way he has it up his sleeve like that, you know, when he goes to visit his space urinal, you know, one bad lean. Yeah.
He's got the safety on.
You never know.
Either way, here's something for you guys. This is a spoiler warning. Bradley, you're still listening. You might want to turn away. I saw in a TV spot. I don't know which one it was. You guys can probably find it. I don't know if you've seen it, but it also now corresponds with a recent Lego toy I had seen. Now, you know The Rock, and after having kind of thought about it, I came up with a bit of a theory. The Rock that Rey's training against, we've seen it multiple times, right? Seems to have somewhat of a significance at this point. So there's a scene that I saw like live. It was a TV spot. Again, I don't know where I saw it. It was somewhere on YouTube. It followed one video. After I was watching one, another one came up, watched it. But she slices through that rock at one point. Now, there's a Lego toy that I saw a picture of recently that the rock is sliced in half, and inside the rock is a kyber crystal. And, think of it this way. This got what got me thinking about it. In the trailers, we see Rey training against this thing, right? Now, we've kind of been led to believe that she's training, and she's so skilled now that she just stops her saber before hitting the rock, right? It's her controlling. She's in such control that she's able to stop that saber. What if it's Luke saying, try and crack this rock open, see what happens? And she tries to hit it, like, I'm going to slice this thing in half, here's my move, and boom, the rock won't let me cut it in half. You know what I mean? And then finally she trains to a point where she finally cuts the rock in half.
I like it, Corey.
And it kind of leads back again to Kylo's thing again, like with Snoke and Sithdom. These Jedi and Sith, they have to find their own crystals on their own. Even Vader, in the comics, we learned recently that Palpatine was like, no, I'm not going to give you one of these sabers, these thousands of sabers I have from dead Jedi. You got to go find a living Jedi, kill him, and grab his crystal. It could be the same thing with Rey in a sense, and that could be the possible third crystal or saber, whatever it is, So I see 4 kyber crystals, 2 lightsabers in this film.
What about you, James?
What about me? What do I think? I agree with Corey again. This show sucks.
It'll doubly suck because I kind of agree too. I don't see an opportunity. I'm not sure that I see an opportunity for Luke to light up the green in this one.
I really don't, man. And ignite the green might not be a thing. But I do again see possible 4 kyber crystals, which could be interesting. And the usage of said kyber crystals could be amazing as well. Who knows? Okay, we've used them as laser swords. They could be capable of so much more.
Oh, see, all this is so much more. Not everything has to be more. Lightsabers are cool.
They are super cool. Don't get me wrong, but like maybe Snoke can like utilize his crystal to like, I don't know, like with his mind and like
shoot force lightning. I've seen it. It's cool, but I like lightsabers better.
I don't want them to start. I don't want kyber crystals to start being used in all kinds of places for all sorts of reasons. Like, they powered the Death Star. That was sort of the perversion of a kyber crystal. Other than that, I hope they stay at home in a lightsaber. And otherwise, that's it.
I don't know. I just think the potential, like the difference between a Death Star and a lightsaber, they're so vast. You know what I mean? Of course. Like, there's so much room in between. Like, when Rey's being tortured at that one point, and you see her like doing the limbo, maybe it's him using his kyber crystal as like boom, take that, you know?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that big black crystal on his hand or on his ring. I'm not convinced it's a kyber crystal. It could very well be, but I won't be convinced until I actually see that. I
would think a dark side user of his caliber would want one.
Sure. I mean, it seems like he wants one of everything at least.
And we know Luke, again, he has part of one, a crystal on his neck. We don't necessarily know it's a kyber crystal, but if it were, and Kylo had the other half, it'd be pretty interesting because that would be another saber in the game, but it would be white at that point, I would think, no?
Doesn't have to be.
Unless it's either red or white at that point, no?
Well, whose saber was it originally?
It was green. Like his green, if Kylo has the other half of that saber or that crystal to make his like blade, that's all it seems to be fractured and splintered, and Luke had the other piece around his neck, if he were to rebuild a saber or something with that crystal, it would most likely be white.
It depends what Luke's allegiance is.
But once you've bled a crystal, isn't the only option white?
When bringing it back?
Yeah.
I guess it depends on who's bleeding it. Like, Ahsoka wasn't a Jedi, so it came back white. But I don't know. Maybe you're right. I don't know. I couldn't give you a second example of somebody restoring a crystal back to another color. So I found that Lego picture you're talking about.
And it's kyber crystal blue, man. Like, and it's a Lego piece. You know what I mean? Like, you have to take that into account. It almost looks like a big diamond.
Well, again, let's not read too much into a Lego set, you know?
Oh, let's read a lot into it. It's way more fun.
Well, I think it's interesting. Like, once it's on my mind, really, like think about that when she, like, that saber just stopping there all the time. Cut through the rock. I can't. And then
I gotta be honest, I like that a whole lot more too, because like, big deal, you stop it. Like, I'm not a Jedi, and I could swing something and stop it, not hit it. Like, that's not that impressive.
It's like there's some kind of like magnetics there or something that's just not allowing her, like, gravitational whatever.
It's funny that you didn't use the word force field, but yes, something is stopping it.
But I did see it, I swear to God. Did you see this, Kyle, where you see the saber? You finally see it, like, okay.
Yeah, she hacks that rock in two. I mean, you don't see the rock. The shot never pulls out further. You just see that she's slicing through it, and that's all you see.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Anyway, let's bring it all back here. I'm with you guys. I see just two sabers in this movie. I don't see Luke getting the chance to light up green or blue or any other saber at that point. I've theorized possibilities of Luke lighting up. But my official stance is that he will not. And if episode, I'll be disappointed. I'll be like, ugh, now we gotta wait for 9 to see Luke pick up a lightsaber. Like, we gotta get that.
We do have to get it. It has to happen. It could happen in this one. Luke and Snoke. You never know.
Yeah, I am really interested to know where green is. The idea that R2 has it is pretty cool. Again, we've seen it. I don't know if it's one of those things where, yeah, we've seen this already. Give us something different, or would it be cool to see R2 fire that thing over to Luke once again?
That'd be cool. I'd like it.
I guess it depends on how they play it, right? They could make it like a bit of a funny wink type thing. Yeah, I don't know. As for if Luke's academy fell, I could imagine Kylo saying, "Yoink, I'll take this." Like during all the chaos and everything's burnt down and everybody's dead. Luke, maybe even Luke presumed dead. Kylo goes, yeah, I'll take the green here. And maybe Snoke has it. Maybe it's one of Snoke's trinkets. Or maybe the movie starts with Rey giving Luke the blue and he rejects it. What if she salvages green from Snoke's throne room and at the end she gives it back to Luke and he accepts?
That'd be cool. I'd love that.
That's a cool arc.
Yeah, I want to see Luke back with it, but I'm pretty sure it's become her saber. But I would like to see Luke re-accept it.
No, he's not accepting the blue. She's giving him back green that she finds on the supremacy.
You mean Kylo's saber?
Maybe. It would be nice to see her. I like that idea already. That at the beginning she gives him a saber, he rejects it. At the end she gives him a saber, he accepts it, which will point to some great fireworks for episode 9. There you go, ads. I'm glad you led us there, because we kind of had some boring answers there. Yeah, because I think the three of us are in agreement. Just 2 sabers, which is kind of boring, but I like that little twist at the end.
Great question, ads. Nice chatting with you. And I want to point out that Corey giggled every time you said light up. Luke's going to light up.
Oh, I know.
Corey giggled.
I know. Doesn't take much. Okay, ads. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah, looking forward to next week's question. I don't know if it's going to be Last Jedi focused, but yeah, all the questions ads brings to the show are gold, baby. Okay, on to Bradley.
Hey guys, Bradley here with this week's Star Wars question for the Tumbling Saber. Hope you guys have had a great weekend, great holiday, and man, we're only just a few weeks away from The Last Jedi, and I can't be more excited about this movie. Actually, I can, but I'm building up to it. Sorry, I'm a little out of breath here. It dawned on me that I haven't left my question yet, and I've been outside doing yard work, and so I've run in here real quick to leave y'all a little voice message. My Star Wars question for this week is, what are we getting most excited about as we get closer and closer to the movie? I've got 4 things for you. One being Rey and her training. Let's let that be one. How about Kylo Ren and whether or not he's going to stay bad or turn to the good side? The third one would be Luke. What's going on with him? Is he going to turn to the bad side, or is he something other than what we think he is? And the fourth being Leia. How are we going to see her demise in some way on the screen? Out of those 4, what are you most interested in seeing as we get closer and closer? For me, surprisingly, I'm starting to lean towards Leia and seeing how what goes on with her character. In the past, I didn't really give it much thought. I figured I kind of looked at her story in a sense, kind of secondary, maybe even third. Now, as we get closer, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the nostalgia that's of her that's coming out for me, or what it is. But I'm starting to get intrigued by how her story is going to play out and how it's going to end, in a sense. And I'm really getting excited about that. Maybe secondary is Luke, which for the most part has really been my number one. I've ever since The Force Awakens came out, I've been eager to see Luke and what he's been up to, and then only getting like 2 minutes of him, if that, at the end of the movie actually kind of crushed me. I was hoping to get more than that, like many of us were. So that kind of build up towards this next movie is obviously, like everybody else, we're interested in to see what he's been up to and what's going on, and exactly, who is he, and his character going forward. And then third would probably be, really, it's a toss-up between Kylo and Rey. Both these characters really fascinate me. I'm hoping we see some struggle with Rey. I hope we don't see this, perfect girl, woman, through the whole movie. I hope we see some depth to her character, and like we have with Kylo already. I think that's what really intrigues me about Kylo, is just the struggle within inside of him, because it just speaks to all of us and the struggles we have inside of us as we go through life, with various things. So that's my Star Wars question for this week. Sorry I'm getting it to you so late, but it's one of those where I think you kind of already know the answer, because y'all think and dream and contemplate Star Wars 24/7. And I appreciate y'all guys. I appreciate y'all's podcast. And I appreciate all the powerful friends out there. Hope y'all have a great show, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
All right, there goes Bradley once again. Good to hear from you, Bradley. So, guys, what specifically are you most excited for in The Last Jedi? I mean, Bradley laid it out for us there, but James, Rey, Luke, Leia, Kylo, whose story? It could be somebody else. We didn't talk about Finn or Poe. Whose story are you most looking forward to seeing in The Last Jedi?
Is it a loophole to say three-way tie? Probably
It is. It is. Yeah. It is a tough question, and there's no wrong way to answer it, unless you try to get around the parameters of the question with like a lazy, I can't commit to anything. Well, yeah, you can't be into the fate of one character without equally being invested in another. Like that's weak sauce. So we gotta pick one of these people or somebody else.
I tell you what, I'll do it in this order then. I'll round it up to the one I'm most interested in, but it was really tough between Snoke being third. I'm super curious. I want to know, but I don't want to know as much as I want to know about Rey. I'm more curious about her backstory. But even that, slightly less than I want to see and know what's going on with our OG Jedi Master Luke. Like that's the one story arc that I guess I'm most intrigued and excited to find out more.
That's a tough one. Corey?
Well, again, now I have to kind of agree with Jimmy over there. We're cool with that, right, Jim? James?
What's wrong with you? You know what it is? He's had beers.
Jamie?
And when he loses his ability to make good decisions. I'll let it slide because I'll let it slide.
You
because
said you were cool with it
because you said Jamie at the end. I'll let it slide. But
right.
You agree with me? This is a crazy show.
I agree with you in the sense that Snoke is the one other character that I'm kind of deeply interested. Foe and Pin. Foe and Pin. Either way, those two.
That's the episode title for sure. Foe and Pin.
Oh, Jesus.
I want to know more about them, but I'm not as interested in like the Force users and stuff like that. Like, so when Bradley breaks it down with those characters, like Rey and Kylo is kind of like a package deal for me now. And there's big
Raylo? Don't say that.
Yeah, no, it's just that better not happen. But either way, their destinies are kind of intertwined for me.
No,
Luke, like
I
said,
specifically said you cannot wrap these people up and say you can't be into one. I have to if you're into one, you have to bring the other guy with it. No, split, pick one.
You did specifically say that.
I'm gonna say Rey and Kylo.
No,
that's my plan.
Pick one.
Then, you know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna say Kylo. I want to see what's happening with Kylo in the long run.
Good, perfect.
But either way, it's hard because when you think about Luke, we didn't see him in The Force Awakens, and we're so curious to see what he's gonna do in this film and where he's gonna go because we know where he's at, which is kind of sad. And then we have Leia, and Leia is, it's her last performance. We don't know what's gonna happen with the character after this, so I'm really looking forward to that as well. So it's kind of a draw for me in that sense as well. But the main draw for me in this is, if you want to call the Force a character, that's what I'm really interested in this film.
No, we don't want to call the Force a character.
It is in a way, though. You know, if you call the Falcon a character,
we didn't.
It's wow. Kyle, you guys do all the time. Come on. By the way,
I kid, buddy. I kid. But Kylo is your answer, right? If you had to lay one down, that's the guy.
Of that list, but the Force is what I'm most interested to see in this film, and what they're gonna do with it and change things, and these old mysteries and these unlocking of secrets and stuff. I'm like, that's what's really kind of got me by the balls right now.
Nice. Thank you for that. Yeah, I walked out of the theater almost 2 years ago, and I had never been more invested or caught up in somebody as I was with Rey. And that's not like the last 2 years haven't done anything to dampen that, but my need to know of what's become of Luke has only grown. To the point where I think it's overtaken Rey a little bit. So I'm kind of with James in that. Yeah, I definitely want to know more about Rey and see where she's going. Actually, the thing with Rey is when I walked out, like I wanted to know who her parents were, where she's from, all this stuff about her. But I've kind of bought into all this stuff over the last couple of years of who cares where she's from. Let's look at where she's going. So now I'm less interested in who her parents are, because I don't believe it's going to be somebody we know. So yeah, I've kind of put that out of my mind. But yeah, so for now, it's kind of gone to Luke. What has happened to our buddy Luke? And what is he going to do about it? Because I'm convinced that it's not going to end on a downer for Luke. It's not going to end on him not being somewhat triumphant. So I want to see how that plays out. And as far as Leia goes, I'm so nervous over what they're going to do with her.
Because that's it. What we see in this film, we're going to have to speculate over for 2 years about how it's going to play out in episode 9. Because, we know this story's unchanged.
Yep.
So that's and they're not coming. She's not coming back.
That's for sure. All right, Bradley, there you go. I think we had a little mix of opinion there. But thanks, Bradley. Hope to hear from you on the Twitter this week, and can't wait to hear what you have for us next week.
Always nice to hear from you, Bradley. Yep.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Good dude. We like the Bradley.
Okay, quick one with Katie this week. She's been asking us a series of questions, our favorite Luke moments, our favorite Leia moments. This week, it's our favorite Lando moment. Corey, you want to take this one first?
Damn.
Go for it, James. Go for it.
Well, because I figured I'd be agreeing with you again. It's got to be flying in on the Falcon and saving the day. No, it's not a three-way tie for first.
Are you talking about Empire?
Yeah, well, yeah, in Empire where you're not sure who's going to be, like at the time. Imagine it's hard for us to look back with fresh eyes, but that was like an unsuspected scene stealing. I don't want to call it M. Night Shyamalan, but that was a big twist. This, for all we knew, this guy was a dirtbag. So,
yep, that was more Leia's moment though. Like Leia was like, turn the ship around. He's like, what? Like, no way. And like Leia's like, do it. And like Chewie's like, I'm gonna kill you, man. Like, you better turn this ship around. He's like, okay.
I don't know. For me, that's my favorite moment. The only other moment that even comes into mind is when we meet him. And he's got that brash arrogance, and Leia's sort of intrigued, and Han's sort of got his feathers up. That's the only other, for me, the only other scene.
How you doing? So nice to see you.
He makes a good entrance. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Corey, what's your top moment?
Top moment? Kind of a bit of a. I'm gonna do this again, Katie. It's a bit of a full circle moment. It's two scenes in the Return of the Jedi. It's got to be that, just him barreling out of the Death Star. It's so goddamn close. Like, they're getting eaten by fire. It's surrounding the cockpit, and he's just like worried as hell. And they come out of it, and him and Nien Nunb look at each other, and they're just like, yeah! And then you see him after, man, on Endor, and he's telling the story to someone, and he just like smacks his hand off his other hand, and he's telling him, "I flew out of that mother." Like, oh man.
Yeah, I think Lando just got ripped that night. There's no way.
Oh, hell yeah.
There's like Lando's lucky he didn't bail off the top of a tree and just plummet to the ground below. Like, there's no way that guy was, like, made it back to wherever he slept that night. Like, they poured him into bed.
For sure. I wonder what Ewoks drink too. They have to have some kind of simple beer, I guess.
Fermented human blood.
That's probably not far from the truth. Well, whatever it was, whether he was hammered or baked, like, you know that guy was all kinds of inebriated that night.
Another big moment, though, like, I don't say it's my favorite moment, but when we know at the end of Empire, he's kind of with them now, wearing Han's clothes. But we see him again in Return of the Jedi, and that nod, like, we know he's infiltrated Jabba's base, and he's on their team. You're just like, dude, he did the right thing. He's back. Like, he's coming full circle. Like, he's really doing the right thing. Like, I thought that was really cool too.
Yeah, that's
and just a little higher, just a little higher.
You know, that moment is on my list as well. I think one of my top moments is... So my top moment is a personal moment. So my two favorite moments from the movies is when... like, the things have gone to hell for the heroes, and they're being led to Vader's Star Destroyer. And then Lando looks down and fires up his it's his wristwatch, right? His little wrist communicator.
His Apple Watch.
And he wakes up Lobot.
It's his iLobot.
Yeah.
Remember? He's like, wake up. Boop, boop, boop.
And it's that moment you go, okay, like, he is on our side. For me anyway, because it's to that point you weren't sure, but as soon as he wakes up Lobot, you know that he's got something cooking. And that to me was like, okay, good. We can breathe a sigh of relief with this guy. And then, yeah, my other moment...
You're like, man, he was so cool. You didn't want to believe he was a bad guy.
Yeah. And then, like you alluded to, Corey, the moment where Chewbacca is taken away, and then you see this Jabba guard kind of walk up into the shot, and he lowers his mask, and you see it's Lando. And that's a nice moment, because, like, to that point, you're not really sure what's been going on. Like, the droids have arrived, and Chewie was brought in by this anonymous bounty hunter. But once Lando lowers that mask, you, like, now I get it. They're infiltrating Jabba's palace one by one.
It's so true, man. Like, that's when you see that, you're like, damn, like, he's the inside man. Like, now you know they have a fighting chance at least. And if you really think about it, like, maybe not so much as a kid, but when you really break that down, dude, he just infiltrated Jabba's palace. Like, that's huge. Like, that's fodder for, like, an awesome story. Like, how the hell did Lando infiltrate that place?
Yeah, because Jabba has to know. Jabba has to know Lando, right?
You would think so. I mean, but man, I'll just wear this mask with some teeth on it
all the time, 24/7.
Yeah, just close it up a bit.
I wouldn't want anybody in here to notice me, because, like, he's right there. Like, he's part of the group of people that are, like, dragging Jabba's dais over to the Rancor pit to watch.
Well, I think that can make an excellent comic, to be honest. I think, like, how did that time span between Empire and Jedi is an interesting period, in the sense that Luke is a completely changed man. Whatever Lando and Chewie had to do in order to infiltrate the palace, all that stuff, you know, like, lots of fodder there. We had the Shadows of the Empire, but that's not canon anymore.
Yeah. Anyway, my favorite moment, though, for me with Lando is, I think it goes back to a birthday a few years ago, and my wife had bought me a vintage Lando Jabba guard, carded vintage figure. So that is my favorite Lando moment.
Really? Eh? That's awesome. I didn't even know you had that.
That's a good Lando moment. Hey, did you? It just struck me the sort of similarities, not only between their names, Lando and Haldo, but, like, he had that extravagant sort of posh, rich guy look, and he was like you weren't sure which way he was going to go, and she sort of got that Lando thing going, right?
Sure. And maybe that's why Ryan Johnson didn't include Lando himself, because somebody's filling that role.
Mm.
You got two people. You got DJ and her, possibly.
Sure. Okay, there you go, Katie. Good questions. I mean, I like putting our thinking cap on for these ones because sometimes it's taken for granted. Like I did have to think about this one for a bit before coming to that answer. So thank you, Katie.
If you want to include Rebels too, there's some good stuff there too. Like when he's talking to his droid, like at the end when he steals their, I think it's their fuel cells. He's like, I knew they took like Chopper steals them. He knows they steal them. And that's why he kind of gyps them on the way out, and it's just a dance, man, that he plays.
Yep. All right, we got a question this week from our good friend Rob Wade. MC Big Wicked is back, and he says, "Hey guys, I'm sure you're having a great show. I don't know about that, and this is my attempt to make it make it even better. I asked this recently of the Skyhoppers, but I'd love to hear your thoughts too. A question for you folks to throw around: do you think the Jedi and the Force would have had less of an impact than they did on OT fans back in the 70s and 80s if the midichlorians were explained in the beginning as originally planned? Thanks, and keep on tumbling, Rob/Palpacino." Now this is a tough one. And Rob, I will say that the minute you enter the fray, things get better immediately.
Objection, conjecture. There's no answer. There's no answer to this.
Why did I know that you would object?
This is a great question, but I mean, well, obviously we're just going to be. It'll be opinion based.
It all depends how they present it and the way they did present it, and which they did as well in A New Hope at the onset. He didn't necessarily use the words metachlorians, but Luke asked him, like, "What's the Force?" And he was like, "It's what binds the galaxy together." You know, like he told him the whole spiel.
That's not the same thing.
He just didn't use the word. Yeah, of course it's the same thing.
Of course it's not.
Like, what are you talking
What
about?
are you talking about?
Like,
is this what you wanted, Rob? Huh?
This is Luke asked him, "What's the Force?" He says, "It's what binds the galaxy together."
That doesn't translate directly to midichlorian. Give me a break. It fits. You can roll it back the other way and say that could describe.
Well, that's what I'm
midichlorian,
saying.
But he certainly
in 1970s, that's the way it worked, and that's the way I like it.
Yeah, but if he had said the question is, if he had come out and said, "Well, Luke, you see, there's these little germs / microbes / organisms,"
then that doesn't work. So that's what I'm saying, in the sense that he explained it, but he didn't use the word metachlorians.
I think you're trying to loophole yourself when you don't have to.
What do you mean? All I'm saying is that he explained what the Force was without using metachlorians. But yes, I think that if he used the word metachlorians, and then it kind of would have been different and taken away from the mysticism.
Oh, there's the word.
And that's what it is. That's all it is. That's really, to me, that's what the Force was back then, you know? Like, we didn't know much about it. I like the fact, again, I've always said this, I like the fact that they're able to quantify someone's potential Force usage. When they see Anakin and he's this virgin above all else, you're like, holy cow. But I don't like the fact that they're like, man, like, it sounds like, I don't know, like something else, a periodic table, like, just metachlorians. I think it's the name that really does it not justice.
It's all of it. The name. Like they couldn't call it something different, and you like it though. It's not. It's a rose. Blah blah blah.
Because it makes sense. Like if not every person can use the Force, really, right?
Yes. No.
Or
wrong.
everyone.
I disagree with that.
That is wrong.
No, I know what you guys are gonna say. George originally said this and that, but George changed his idea because he wrote the prequels. So now only a certain amount of people are able to use the Force to a degree where it's actually relevant. And that it is that. Like I get the fact that there's something within those beings that makes them more special, but to be able to say those words like metachlorians, like that's what's wrong about it to me. Like I like the fact that you're saying like, okay, there's something in the cells of these people that's able to communicate with the universe and the galaxy, whatever. That's cool. But when you start saying like, I don't know, it's the name.
I don't even like cells of these people. I like the idea that like that guy is in touch, man, and he can just tap into it stronger than anyone else, and that's enough explanation for me. The fact that it's like tied
but it has
to
to be
yourself,
rare.
No, it doesn't have to be rare. I don't like that either. I think like I like the idea of like anybody training hard enough could learn to use it a little. I get that there's chosen ones who have like more aptitude, but I don't know. I'm just not a fan, and I don't think it could have been introduced to me at any time where I would have liked it. So the OT boo, prequels boo, boo midichlorians.
I don't think, to me, like, I don't know, there's not anyone could just be a Jedi. Like, I could see people like feeling the Force and not necessarily using it, but like being able to sense it around them and knowing its greater purpose. But a small, like 10% of the population, kind of like that 1%, you know, like 1 out of 10 is able to kind of utilize it in a fashion where you're like, wow.
So for both of you, it's that midichlorians would have made the people in the 70s and 80s, they would have felt less of an impact. The Force would have been less of a thing for them if they put that
I think Obi-Wan explained it enough in a way that there was enough mystery, you know, like when he's explaining it to Luke on the Falcon, like I think we get enough of it there.
Yeah, you have to kind of go back, like put yourself into the seat of somebody who's seeing this for the first time. And by this point, you've already seen starships. You've already had your mind blown by Star Destroyers. Like, your head is spinning already. You meet Darth Vader. Yeah, I mean, you're kind of like right in the middle of A New Hope. Your brain is just racing. And I think there's somebody could have written it. I don't know if George is that guy. I think you could have introduced midichlorians in a way that people still would have walked out of the theater just as buzzed about the movie as if they had not. I think it's possible.
Well, it's true. Maybe if you look at it from that regard, like, honestly, it makes kind of sense that, you know, if he could have slipped it into the conversation with Luke in such a nonchalant fashion, now the fact that, you know, the prequels were built up on and put up on such a pedestal, you know, Star Wars was already established, so that, you know, them saying that after the fact is kind of like, what? But if you would have just slipped it in there kind of from the beginning, nonchalantly, and not made it like a big thing, and changed the name to something better than midichlorians, sounds like something I need to put in my hot tub or my pool, you know, like.
I don't know. I think there's enough going on in A New Hope that if you had said the word midichlorians in A New Hope, I don't know that you would have walked out and been like, that sucked. Because I think there's still enough in A New Hope that would have blown your brain anyway.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that, but I'll say, like, midichlorians is a scientific term, and there was nothing scientific about the Force in the OT.
No, you're right. Yeah, no, I've also said I could take or leave them. They don't really bother me, and I like the Phantom Menace, but I don't watch it all that often. So to me, like, I never really think about midichlorians anymore, which are a spin on the word of mitochondria, in case anybody was wondering that. I don't know. I think people, I don't know that it would have had an impact on fans in the 70s and 80s. I think A New Hope was just that good in the 70s and 80s that the dice cast, man. People were walking out of that theater with their brains scattered all over the floor. There you go, Rob. Thank you, sir.
Well done, Rob. Another awesome question. Good to hear from you, buddy. And I hope you'll tune in and maybe check out our pod and send some questions in, because I'd love to hear your perspective on Lord of the Rings stuff, buddy.
Yeah, and I want to hear Rob's take on this as well. Where are we going next? I think we got Carlos. Mr. Candido's up next. He says, "Hey dudes, here's a question that has nothing to do with The Last Jedi. If Thrawn ever made it to live action, what actor do you see playing the part? I see Christian Bale would be epic. I think Christian Bale would be epic in that role. What about you guys? Let me know. Peace, Carlos." All right. I do think Christian Bale would be awesome in that role. I think he's awesome in almost every role he does. I don't know, James, who do you got?
Christian Bale. Next.
That simple, eh?
No, but it is a great suggestion. I mean, and sort of hard to argue. How old is Christian Bale now? 40? Is he older than us?
He's got to be.
Yeah. He's in his.
I would say he's not.
I'd say 43.
I think he's maybe 40. Yeah, he's 43. Yeah. Born in 74, so he's about to turn 44 in a couple months.
Wow, I guessed that. That's awesome.
Is Hugh Jackman too old to play him? Because for some reason, I don't know. It was the first image I had was Hugh Jackman in blue face paint.
You know what? This would kind of be a bit of a double up, but the first person that comes to me, which it's all kind of comes again full circle a bit, which is kind of weird. But Mads Mikkelsen, this is all due to the Rebels character, like the way they portrayed his face, the smoothness, the cheekbones, the jawline. The cheekbones are really what do it for me, but I think Mads Mikkelsen can pull it off, even though he's been Galen Erso.
Cheekbones, yeah. What's it? Tom Harding would be.
I don't know. His face is too plump.
Oh, it depends. This guy can do whatever he wants with his body.
That's true. Most actors can, I guess. You're right. But how's this? Michael Fassbender. He's got a bit of a long face. I could see him pulling it off. He's the right age, in my opinion.
Fassbender would be a great call. I know if they'd adapted this movie straight up, like if Lucas had been like, "Wow, these books are cool. Let's make movies of them." Do you guys remember Armand Assante?
I don't.
Nope.
He was a character actor, I guess prominent in the 80s and early 90s. He was in a bunch of stuff. You'd know his face if you saw him. But he would have been an amazing Thrawn, no doubt. But I think if they're recasting Thrawn today, how old do you figure Thrawn is? I don't think age is really an obstacle. Like, he'd be wearing so much makeup anyway that, really, who cares about the character's age unless you cast an actor who can't do action?
40s.
Yeah, 40s, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys know Milo Ventimiglia?
Negative.
He was on. Well, he's on that show right now, This Is Us, and he's sort of like that almost hippie-ish dad. But he was also the inspiration for me is choosing him is. He was on Gotham last year. We just played this like slick serial killer type guy, and I think he would. He's an excellent actor. But Milo Ventimiglia would be my pick.
What about Cumberbatch?
Buff.
No, I think
he could do it.
I just like him. I like him in everything, but I think he'd sound great. I think he'd look good.
Yeah, he could do it.
He'd have to put on a little weight, but
he could do it. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't see it.
I think I could see it.
I just sent you a screenshot of him where he's very Thrawn looking.
Yeah, I could totally see it. The aforementioned Rob Wade, he's always had Gary Sinise in his head, and that's another good one. At least I think
that's good. He's too old now. Back in the day, yeah, you're right. Turn the clock back about 10 years.
I guess it depends on what you do with Thrawn, right? If you're going to put him in action sequences, which I disagree with, I think that you shouldn't do that with Thrawn. But if they did, then
yeah, I think Gary Sinise is pretty small, no?
Yeah, that who cares? There's lots of ways around that. Yeah, I don't know. Ventimiglia is my choice, but Gary Sinise is another good one. There's so many good actors. I don't know. Everybody else? What do you guys think? Throw out a name for Thrawn. Let's hear it. And do we want this? Would you guys like to see a live action Thrawn?
I kind of would, and I'm not even a big Rebels watcher, but I think he's really intriguing.
Sure. I'm not a huge Thrawn guy either, but yeah, whatever. Sure.
I don't think it's going to happen, but if they were to take animation to the live screen, I'm all for it.
There you go. Carlos. Thank you, sir. All right. Lastly, but definitely not leastly, Jeffrey is back once more. Not a Seinfeld question this week. So Jeffrey, this week,
I was kind of disappointed in that. I'm still honestly, Jeffrey. I have to say, like, I'm very surprised at your answer, as I was Kyle's. Because anyway, I think I know a certain James that was kind of on my side, but just couldn't be on my side because I'm just me with a Z. So
No, we're not going back down that.
Yeah.
Listen, we're this has been like a super long show, so can we just like expedite this, please?
I guess, but still, I'm very confused with both of you.
Focus, Corey.
Like, I can't. Like, that bothered me.
This is again Corey not able to accept an answer that has been presented to him.
I don't get it. It's mind-boggling a bit.
And
Newman to train Ray. Like,
okay, stop.
Wow.
Here's Jeffrey's question. If you owned a cantina in the Star Wars universe, what kind of entertainment would you provide? Music, live bands, dancers, gambling, etc. What would you want the name of your cantina to be? And would you allow droids? Sorry, not the best question this week. We got our minds on turkey down here this week. Yeah, big Thanksgiving holiday in the U.S. Hope you guys are all having a great... Well, this is it. I mean, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving holiday. Well, what do you guys think? Who wants to take this one first?
I'll go. I gave it a little thought. The first thing I thought of was what makes money here, and then I ruled out a few things like, here sex sells, but in the galaxy far, far away, I think you probably have too much interspecies stuff for like to know what turns on who. So like dancing girls or dancing guys, probably too hard to figure out what pleases everybody. So I threw that out the window and kept just gambling and fighting. If I've got room in the bar to do cage fighting of some sort, I think violence sells everywhere. So that would be my first choice. But if there's not enough room, then I'd have like at least a back room with space poker or whatever the easiest way, space craps or whatever the hot gambling thing is. And if possible, maybe the whole thing is a gambling den. I'm not sure what the law is on the island or the planet I'm on. So I don't know if I have to hide it or not, but I'm going to go with gambling as my form of entertainment. Second choice if I don't have room. Yeah. As far as calling it something, I didn't come up with any clever names. For some reason, I wanted to just call it Space Bucks, and I know that's a Spaceballs reference, not a not a Star Wars reference, but I just wanted to call it Space Bucks. I think is what I would call my cantina. Is there a third part?
Are droids allowed?
Oh, no droids. No, absolutely no droids.
The hell with droids.
There you go, Carlos. That's for you, buddy.
What a racist.
I'm a speciest, if anything.
Whatever it is. Sad.
All right, Corey, I want to hear what you have.
Okay, well, entertainment-wise, like, I'm forbidding gambling. I don't want that stuff in my establishments. No good. It's going to be more like a pool bar, barcade. Those are the things I'm going to kind of go for in this. But
pool with no gambling?
First one's
boring.
Well, I like what you said about the backroom poker room, but video slot machines forbidden. Actual hands-on gambling, we can talk.
Okay.
As long as I get a cut. Okay. So first one, Moss Z Bar. Then we got another one here, the Tumbling Sabar.
I remember that one from episode 3.
Yeah, something like that. We serve tumbling say beer, all that stuff. It's on tap. Then we got the prancing Falthier.
Ooh, I see what you did there.
And the last and not least, like I got to give some love to the Last Jedi here. How's this? The Volptex and the Porg.
V and P's, P and V's, PVs, VPs. Yeah. Not bad. I think I'd go to Space Bucks first.
Man, you're so overpriced, though.
Oh, my place is
everything's
so
a Space Buck.
My place is so totally overpriced. Oof, Corey, what was your droid policy?
Oh yeah, open droid policy. As long as this is the condition though. They come in. I don't want no snooping around. Like you get a restraining bolt. When you leave, it comes off. There's rules. We got some rules around here. But yeah, definitely allowed in. But
All right then. I didn't come up with a name for mine. I just ran out of racetrack, even though Jeffrey got in the question days ago. I could not find a suitable name. But mine is like I'm done with bars. Like mine would just be like a straight up fine dining restaurant based on the notorious Hut clan. So I would have menu items such as Jabba's Jambalaya, which we'd call Jabbalaya.
Nice.
Zero the Hut would have gyros. Zeros.
Gyro the Hut.
There'd be Foie de Grabala, the Hut.
Nice.
And Gracchus the Hut would have his protein plate with, chicken wings and chicken tenders, stuff like that. Maybe some pork wings.
Dude, you got to get some frog legs in there, no?
Sure. You can put whatever you want on Gracchus's protein plate.
I'm talking about Jabba, really. Whatever he shoves in his mouth at one point.
Yeah, and droids can come in, but no droid would want to come in this place. They know how Hutts treat droids. No droid would come within a parsec of my restaurant. All right, that was fun. I would eat Jabbalaya. I would not eat foie de grabala.
I'd try it once.
Fatty Hut liver. You'd eat that?
I'd give it a try.
Fatty foods are usually tasty.
Yeah, but Hut liver? I don't know. That's maybe a bridge too far for me. But that's it, man. Guys, we're done. Jeffrey, thank you, sir. Whew. We did a whole lot of everything in this episode, I think.
It's tomorrow.
Yeah, Guess what, guys? We're up at stupid o'clock again.
Well worth it, boys. That was fun.
It was fun. All right, guys, ads. Bradley, Katie, Rob, Carlos, Jeffrey, thank you all so much for your input this week. Do come back again next week. And Corey and James, guys, this was a ton of fun this week. Almost 3 hours of fun. Corey's got nothing left to say.
No, I'm honestly, James, I'm happy you came on board this week.
Oh, it's always fun, guys. I like. You both know that if I didn't have to be picking and choosing my spots, I would be here every single week. But it's always fun when I can find the time to squeeze myself in. I miss it a lot.
Hell yeah! And what do we got now? We got 14 when this drops. Dude, we're gonna be like
16 days.
Oh my god. Oh my!
Yeah, people
God.
who listen to this on day one when it drops, 16 days. That is crazy pants. All right, that's it. Go check out StarWarsCommonwealth.com, everybody. If you've not done that yet, like I like to say, I don't know a lot of things in this world, but I know that the Star Wars Commonwealth podcasts are going to kill it this week yet again. Lots of stuff, lots of variety over there. Something sure to scratch your itch. So, guys, before we get back, well, James. Plug your show one more time, the upcoming podcast, when it's dropping, if there's a date, all that stuff, your Twitter handle, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, we're unofficially and now I guess officially an unexpected podcast. And we're on Twitter now finally with like at least 4 followers, including you two. At an unexpected pod, POD. And we're not exactly sure when we drop. We're going to record the first episode and the second one and have a couple in the bank before we drop. So we've got a little room to play. And I'm thinking if it doesn't happen right at Christmas, it'll happen in January as the new year rolls in. So stay tuned.
Yeah, maybe it makes a little sense to steer clear of The Last Jedi. I don't know.
I don't want to really be going head to head with that kind of news, and also just the busyness. Like we've got our movie night and a lot to talk about. I'm probably going to jump on a few pods through that time as well. And, Christmas and everything. So, and, ads has a family as well. So we'll figure it out, but coming soon to a headset near you.
Awesome. And Corey, where are you at?
Come on, man. I'm at Chop Rules with a Z.
Brilliant. I'm at Tumbling Saber on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Come say hello. Come talk Star Wars. And looking forward to seeing you all again very soon this week, especially the powerful friends. You'll get Sith Disturbers at the end of the week. And if you want to become a powerful friend, if you haven't already, patreon.com/tumblingsaber, exclusive podcasts, early access podcasts, giveaways, our super crazy The Last Jedi Sith Disturbers quiz drops. Get into the program before we actually do that, because that's going to be a lot of fun. And that's it. We're done. Thank you so much for, 3 hours of your time. Holy smokes. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you later.
Self-redeeming qualities, have they hindered me? Hindering, was I blind to see? Blind to see that you needed me, all of me. Well, you were there for me. I will be there too, watching, listening, every moment, wanting all of you. And I believe I can save you, just don't let me go. And I can see I'll be waiting, always waiting, just don't let me go. Just don't let me go. Time goes on and I'm questioning all the things I've seen, crazy things I've seen as I'm watching you. I'm watching you walking away from me. Were you watching me? Was it just a dream? Just a dream. And I believe I can save you, just don't let me go. And I can see I'll be waiting, always waiting. And I believe I can save you, let me save you. And I can see I'll be waiting, always waiting, just don't